Nestled in a classic New England setting amid 200-year-old elm trees and charming colonial homes, stately sea captains' homes, and charming Cape Cod salt boxes, Shoreway Acres is a graceful blend of Cape Cod's past and present. Shoreway Acres, proud sponsor of Falmouth Community Television.
evening and welcome to the September 8th, 2014 meeting of the Board of Selectmen. We have been meeting in executive session for the last hour, and now we are back in open session, and I invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we're going to begin our meeting tonight with public comment. Is there anyone who would care to speak on any matter that is not on the agenda tonight? Mr. Cunha.
My name is Danny Cunha, Precinct 2. I'm here tonight because of that permit that was issued in the paper to one contractor. I asked several questions the last time I spoke. I asked if you could consult with the town council, see if that permit was legal. I'm still waiting for an answer for that. Either that or give us a press release on this matter, please. If you don't call me for the executive session, I would really appreciate it. That permit was a slap in the face to the citizens of Falmouth, especially the ones on Davis Straits who made the original bylaw so we could sleep. The bylaw was 11 years old. We had no problem with it. All of a sudden, I read in the paper that the permit authorizes it. The permit was issued July 1st, 1914. It was on August 15th, a dumpster was emptied behind my house at 5 a.m. And inside the dumpster was cardboard. I repeat, cardboard. I couldn't believe it. I made a call to the police department, made a complaint. I'm asking you, please, there's nothing more to say. 3 times I've been up here. Enough is enough. We want to sleep. We could not sleep in 2002. 3 out of 4, 7 nights, the dumpsters were empty. I came here downstairs and spoke to the health agent, and he said he had nothing to do with commercial dumpsters. He had no advice for me. I ended up going to a friend, and a bylaw was written. And town meeting, ladies and gentlemen, passed the bylaw on a blanket vote. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cunha. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Beth Nicholson.
Could you say it a little?
My name is Beth Nicholson.
Okay, thank you.
I've been in Falmouth now for about 6 years. I am an active artist and have been trying to align myself with the immense amount of artists in this town, very good artists. I've never been to a town meeting, and this is my first one. And I'm here because I was wondering if it were possible for the town to become involved in a major art project that would include many artists out of the town and myself. Would there be any interest, or would there be any political responsibility on my part for that to happen? And basically, that's my question.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, Mr. Elliott.
My time doesn't count like an over here, does it?
No, it does not.
Thank you. I am here tonight to say a few words about this ridiculous permit that was issued by the Falmouth Board of Health, championed by Mr. Ufelder, who made a statement that the trucks were backing over the sidewalks, running over pedestrians. I don't believe that's ever happened. The whole conversation with the Board of Health in that period was about safety, never mention the Board of Health. Mr. Cunha, I heard in his statement there about Mr. Kerrigan denying that they had anything to do with commercial. Well, right here it says to remove, transport, and dispose of garbage, or offal, or other offensive substances. They have a lot to do with it. Now, there's another thing. The permit out on 151, for 10 to 12, maybe 15 years, there's been rubbish trucks going in and out of there constant basis. And not once has the Board of Selectmen or the town manager, I believe, have never cited the owner of that property, or have never questioned the property. Now, who is responsible for enforcing these rules and regulations? It doesn't seem that anyone is. I certainly hope that you'll take a little heed and start looking into some of these affairs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Yes, Mr. Dufresne.
Adrian Dufresne, Precinct 2. I'm here to parrot the previous conversations involving the rubbish collection. The licensing authority for rubbish collection in the town of Falmouth, to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, because two or 3 weeks ago, we came before you seeking some kind of an answer. I received a call from the vice president of the Falmouth Heights Improvement Association, who owns a condominium across the street from the little restaurant of Falmouth Heights, where there was a 4 o'clock or a 4:30 rubbish pickup by this contractor. Now, our bylaws, I've been a town meeting member for a lot of years. You people know that. We passed the bylaw in 2006, or revised the bylaw in 2006. You people, your board, are the licensing authority, not Mr. Suso. You people approved the licensing. How can the Board of Health, by this gentleman's comments, issue something to one contractor that's not issued to all of the other 4 contractors for the same purpose? So I have a problem representing Precinct 2, and I'm going to repeat what I said 2 or 3 weeks ago, that these answers have to come from the Board of Selectmen. You want to change the bylaw, let's go back to town meeting. I don't have a problem with that. 45 years I've been able to say A or nay, and I think we've done some good things for the town of Falmouth. The passage of that bylaw was one. If we rescind 7 to 7 for whatever purpose, for any contractor, what do we do with the landscapers that would like to start at 4:30 or 5:30 or 6:30 in the morning? You know, daylight starts very early. I'm up at 5:30 in the morning, it's daylight. Some guys would like to start cutting grass or whatever. The point is, if you do not at least take the action and explain why you can't rescind the Board of Appeals, the Board of Health's authority, which I have a copy of it right here. They don't have that authority. It was public safety. You people are in charge of public safety. I told that to Mr. Suso today. Public safety comes under the Board of Selectmen, all right? If it was a safety issue, my recommendation is put a second man on the truck or get smaller equipment such as the 2 previous rubbish contractors that took care of Falmouth used to do. That was Al Lawrence and Alec Moran. And with that, I'm going to say I would hope I don't have to come back here a 3rd time to say the same thing. I don't think it's fair to the people that are being upset at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and now this order says they can do it at 2 o'clock. What are we going to do with the bylaw? You tell me what you want to do with the bylaw that says 7 to 7, reinforced in 2006, because I think it's your responsibility as the Board of Selectmen and the licensing authority to give the general public the explanation that they're looking for. Now, Paula Louise from the Heights, I think most of you people know her, asked me what's going on, and she told me about her complaint. I says, I'll bring it before the Board of Selectmen. Now, this is the second or third time you've heard it from these gentlemen right here. Either do something or say why you don't want to do it. Thank you for your consideration.
Is there anybody else? No? Okay. Then we'll move on to the minutes of the meetings of September 8th, 2014. If I may, I would like to go to page 2. Under administrative orders, paragraph public comment, and just add one small phrase. You have your pencil out because I didn't write it down. It says, Chairman Flynn said the presentation was informational, and I want to add, and being offered in collaboration with the town. Okay. Is there anyone else who has any amendments or changes to the minutes?
I would move approval of the minutes with the correction as made.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, the motion carries. So now we will move to the summary of actions under administrative orders. And the first is, and to approve a request to place a sign on the Gov Fuller Field Complex batting cage, recognizing donors. There were quite a few donors who apparently donated some of their own personal funds, or companies too, as well, to the rec center for the purpose of the batting cage. And this request has to be approved by the Board of Selectmen. It's not, doesn't fall under the naming policy. We are not naming the batting cage after anyone, but it does in fact relate to placing a plaque in public space. Some of the discussions that I have had with the town manager and the assistant town manager, and I have spoken directly to the recreation director, is if you look at the plaque itself, and there's a copy of it here, you will notice that it has the year, and then it has the names of the companies that donated money, which are Ideal Floor Covering, Falmouth Ready Mix, and then it has an individual with, and it includes the individual's affiliation. And normally, we would not put on plaques individual donors' affiliation. We would simply list their name, like the names of the businesses are listed. So I bring this before you, or the Recreation Center, Helen Kennedy, is not here, but this.
Yes, she is.
Oh, yes, she is here. Hi, Helen. So anyway, this is what is before us. This, under where it says Bob Clark, it says General Manager, Falmouth Commodores. And that can be an issue in a public space. So as opposed to just giving the name, Bob Clark, along with Ideal Floor Covering, or along with Falmouth Ready Mix, it doesn't give affiliations, well, they are companies. But in this case, for an individual, it denotes the affiliation. And this is a concern. It has been the concern to previous boards, and it has been of concern to me in bringing this before you, because it is not consistent in a certain sense with what we would expect of a plaque that represents donors. I'm going to go all around the bush on this, so I'm just going to stop right here. I think you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. So and this is a board decision. I'm just putting this before you. Becky.
Is the point that a name would be, someone's name is on here, and is that person also financially involved with this, or is he just the general manager?
No. Each of the businesses here and the one individual contributed funds, personal funds, or the businesses contributed funds. Mr. Clark contributed personal funds, is my understanding, to the creation of the batting cage.
Okay,
But it also, Mr. Clark is no longer the general manager of the Commodores.
okay.
So the affiliation may have existed a few years ago, but it doesn't exist currently. And if we were to include affiliations with donors, which we don't usually do, donors are not usually listed by their affiliation, they're listed by their name. So this is up really in a way for more of a policy direction from the board, as well as approving this signage here.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just a couple comments, if I may. As the board may know, Assistant Town Manager Heather Harper and I have been involved in this, as well as have some of the individuals who were here this evening. And as you've noted, Madam Chair, the current plaque, unfortunately, had not been brought to this board to be reviewed in advance, as is our protocol, which is the reason that we're here this evening. And some questions were raised as to appropriateness. The suggestion that we bring to the board tonight is that you allow me as town manager to move forward to identify those who have donated to this project to be recognized by name and not by title in an appropriate plaque that is more consistent with what I think has been done in other areas. To further clarify, we did get a note from Mr. Clark, which seems to indicate that while there was not a donation of funds made, he indicates that he personally donated a baseball net for the batting cage. So he made a donation in the form of a product rather than funds. But certainly, Falmouth Ready Mix and Ideal Flooring did make contributions as well. So our intent would be, subject to the concurrence of the board, that we have a plaque that indicates donors by name, contributors by name, and limit it to that.
Doug?
I will notice that this plaque has already been made, and would encourage people, if they want to make plaques, they should get permission first, as opposed to getting the plaque made, because it's going to have to go back and be done correctly. And just because it has been made does not mean we're going to approve it.
Understood.
Sam?
No, Heather is.
Oh, Heather, I'm
Well, I
sorry.
just want to mention, I missed a little bit of the beginning here, but it's really a good lesson and exercise with the memorandum of understanding that we have among multiple parties for the use of the Fuller Field, the Gus Canty Center. It includes the school department, the athletic department, the town manager's office, the Commodores, the baseball program, the football program, the rec center. And there's really a lot of activities that go on out there, and they go on mostly very successfully. And it's because we sit down every year with each of the groups, we walk through what the issues are going to be, and we try to each respectfully honor our own responsibilities. And so it's important that we do that with things like signs as well, and I think it's a lesson learned and a good one.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is, that the plaque was just created without the normal process of bringing it before the town manager and the selectmen to vote on plaques that are put on public places in the town. And I think having a policy, or being very clear about what our policy is, we have a very good naming policy that's pretty clear, but this is a little bit different, because it isn't very often that we get a request to put a plaque in a public space. Sometimes if you notice around town, there are certain symbols of dedication to individuals. Some people who have made those contributions have even requested that their names not be placed on them, and we have quite a few of those around town, where people have chosen, even though they have donated the funds, they choose not to have their name. But I think it's been pretty much a practice rather than a policy that we just put the name on the instrument of dedication and not affiliations. It would take up a lot of space. Becky?
This is apparently 4 by 7, which would just be a very, I don't know what the cost, I mean, it's very small. I don't know
Inches,
what
4
the-
inches by 7 inches.
7 inches is what it says, so
Yeah.
it's very small, it's not,
Right,
you're not going to see it from a distance.
right.
So the point is to take off the 2 words general manager, or we're just going to
And
just let it,
Falmouth Commodores.
and the Falmouth Commodores. and
Now,
just
unless the Falmouth Commodores made a
have
donation.
given a monetary donation, because this other was in the form of equipment.
Right.
The difference of what we're saying. So if you just stop at Mr. Clark's name, could that be redone? What's the?
Well, it would be required to be redone. We would require it to be redone if we wanted to make sure that this plaque is consistent with the practices of the board.
Okay. All right.
So that's what I would look for, would be a motion to refer. And that, the motion would be that, that we recommend a sign to recognize all contributors by name, not by title, and subject to verification of the contribution. That would be the motion.
Second.
You want to go with that? Okay. Is there any further discussion? Go
My
ahead.
other discussion is if Helen would like to come and speak to us.
Yes.
No, I wouldn't.
Good evening. Hi, Helen Kennedy, Recreation Director. I guess the only comment that I would like to make is as a Recreation Director for the town of Falmouth, I'm always looking to upgrade our facilities and do whatever we can to improve what we have. And one of the ways I do that is by donations, where it does not cost anything for the town of Falmouth. And this was a situation back in 2011 when Mr. Clark came to me and said, you know, I'd like to start to coordinate possibly raising some funds to upgrade the batting cage down at Fuller Field. And I said, you know, it's not going to cost the town any money. Go for it. He took the initiative to do that. He is a businessman in this town, very generous man, and he took it upon himself to go solicit various businesses in town to do this. He designed the whole cage himself. He even bought an L-screen batting cage for it, so whoever was pitching the ball to whoever was playing in the cage wouldn't get hurt. So this was just a nice way to thank the donors for this project. It's very small. It's about this big, and I just hope that you will support it. We need to thank people like this in this town. They do a lot for us.
And thank you for that, Helen. I
Yeah.
think you're absolutely right. And I think sometimes we have to also remember that when we put things in public places, you know, we have to be considerate of how they are
I
displayed.
understand. And
Yeah.
also, I'm down at Fuller Field all the time. It's not just used by the Falmouth Commodores. The Falmouth High School baseball team uses it. Babe Ruth uses it. I run a wiffle t-ball program down at that field on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the little kids get in there and use it. So it was definitely a tremendous upgrade for the facility, and it didn't cost us a dime.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Helen. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. The motion carries. So now we will move to the second item, which is to authorize the acceptance of the Barnstable County Cape Cod Cooperative Extension Land Management Grant for the Falmouth Beaches. I think you have this. This is a program that the county provides on occasion, and I think we have $3,375 going for a project on Old Silver Beach improvements, the handicapped access to the Falmouth beaches, and our improvements to Chappaquiddick Beach. And that was provided by the county to Mr. Hoffer to undertake that project. So it just
Madam
needs,
Chair, there's a
yes.
second contract as well for
Oh,
1,000.
thank you. I
two of
missed
them,
that one.
Pardon me.
Thank you. And then the second contract, also for the same areas, Old Silver Beach, any Falmouth beaches, or handicapped access to Falmouth beaches, and improvements to Chappaquiddick for $1,125. So we need a motion to accept the grants.
I would move approval of accepting the grants from the Barnstable County.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. I'd like for Mr. Hoffer to come and speak about the handicap items that you plan to purchase.
Welcome, Don.
Don Hoff, Beach Superintendent. What was the question?
I would like for you to speak about the handicap products that you plan to purchase.
One of the things we buy are what we call it used to be called a Moby mat. Now it's called a path mat. It's a little less expensive. And what it does is rolls out onto the sand and gives you more sure footing for people that have trouble walking in the sand, as well as allowing a wheelchair to roll out on it. A standard wheelchair as opposed to the beach wheelchairs that we have. That was one of 3 items that I put in. The other one was to improve the walkway at Old Silver Beach, which was starting to splinter. And so we were very fortunate to get that. And then the other one was to increase the size of the wall, the height of the wall at Chappaquiddick, which is not, the latter thing is not handicap prone. But the reason, that the way they give you the money is they give you 3/4 of it, I believe it is, in one check, and then after you've done what you said you were going to do, then they give you the other. That's why there were 2 pieces of money in that. But over the years, we have done quite a bit of handicap accessibility production using the grant money. That's one of their goals, is to improve handicap accessibility on the beaches.
Okay.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. The motion carries. Our third item under the administrative orders is to approve the proposed locations for monitoring and soil borings on town-owned property on the Acapesca Peninsula. I think you have the memo here from Jerry Patamas, and this is very similar to the site visit that we made on Davisville Road. It's kind of the same idea. The Water Quality Management Committee is further studying through monitoring some of these areas. This is at the east end of Seaview Drive on the north side, which is adjacent to 36 Seaview Drive. The east side of Shorewood Drive, near the intersection with Seaview Drive, and the adjacent property is 176 Shorewood Drive, where there will only be a monitoring well in that location. And the east side of Shorewood Drive, near the intersection with Harbor View Drive. And the adjacent property there is 4 Harbor View Drive. I believe Jim Begley, who's the consultant on the project, has been in the area, and I think he has talked with 1 or 2 of the neighbors there, like happened the last time, where I think the neighbors were very accommodating to these monitoring wells, because they really do not interfere with the use of their property. So, would anyone care to make a motion?
Just to note that these are all on town-owned road layouts. They're not on private property, but adjacent to the properties you mentioned.
Right.
I would move approval of permitting these monitoring wells.
Second?
Any further discussion?
I would just mention that gathering information about the effectiveness of our sewage treatment project is extremely important for making future decisions. We might actually be more efficient in how we invest our funds if we get this kind of information. So I think it's very valuable that we permit this kind of data gathering to help future decisions.
Okay.
Do you want Jerry to speak, or we're okay?
I don't want to speak.
Doesn't care.
There's the answer.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. The next item is to accept a donation from the T-Ticket Civic Association in the amount of $500 to the Veterans Donation Account.
I would move approval of the donation, of accepting the donation from the T-Ticket Civic Association $500 to a veterans donation account.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, unanimous. So now we will move to special events. This is a recurring event, the Rosary Rally at Peg Noonan Park on October 11th, 2014, and the Lennon Fest at the Falmouth Heights Ball Field, which is put on by the British Beer Company on October 12th. A motion? Anyone?
I move approval of the Rosary Rally at Peg Noonan Park on October 11th, 2014.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? The Lennon Fest.
You notice that we also have an event at the West Falmouth Playground that day, so two very different parts of town, and you can get to both, because the playground one starts at 10, and the Lennon Fest ends at 5, so I would move approval of the Lennon Fest held at Falmouth Heights Ball Field, British Beer Company.
Second.
Any further discussion? Sam?
Yeah, I didn't see that we'd gotten approval from the Recreation Department and the Parks Department. Those two that were, their comments were solicited, but I didn't see any responses. Did we get anything since September 15th?
Helen Kennedy perhaps can enlighten us on that. Helen?
No, I'd be glad to speak on this. This is a great event. They've had it for several years. We haven't had any problems with it. They clean up the ball field very well, and I endorse it.
Thank you, Helen. Does that,
Well, that's all right, Mayor. Yeah. I see Rocky Gomes is here. Do you
Rocky?
agree also?
Yeah, I agree. We've never had any issues with them. After they're gone, you never know they were there.
Okay.
They do a great job.
Thank you.
good. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Now, a new event. This is the Craft Brew Races, Cape Cod 5K. It starts and finishes at the Cape Cod Fairgrounds. It's put on by Gray Matter Marketing for Sunday, September 28th. And I noticed if you look at, I did look at the route to see exactly where it goes. And it actually is on, if you're going north on 151, going towards Mashpee, it's on the left side of the road. So there are a couple other activities that day in Falmouth, but this is more toward the Mashpee sandwich line. So it's really, I think nobody will even know they're there. They leave from the fairgrounds, which is on the same side of the road, and they go through that neighborhood, Ashumet Road, and I've forgotten what some of the other roads are. Yeah, and then come back to the fairgrounds.
Courier Road.
Courier Road, right. So is there anybody who wants to speak on that? Yes. Hello.
Good evening. I'm Matt Gray. I'm the president of Gray Matter Marketing. We produce the Cape Cod Brew Fest, which is the day before the Craft Brew Races. Craft Brew Races is a part of a series that we've done throughout New England this year. This will be the final event for it. We had to work with the Mashpee and the Falmouth Police Departments on the routes. We had a couple different suggestions in and around the Cape Cod Fairgrounds. This was the best solution that we came to. And actually, there's brand new roads in the area, so it's actually a very good running course for the runners as well. We try to minimize traffic concerns. It finishes and starts inside the fairgrounds, plenty of parking. So it should be an hour event and be over with, and then we'll be inside the fairgrounds for the rest of the day.
Great. Any questions of Mr. Gray?
Explain one more time, when you leave the fairgrounds and you're running on the road.
I don't know it by heart. My operations manager worked with the police department to solidify the course. I just market the event and promote it along with our company. You take a right outside of the gate 4. You head north, and then you head directly into neighborhoods for the rest of the race until you turn back onto the main road and head back into the fairgrounds. So we're all off of 151. It's all north of 151. Uses about a half mile within the fairgrounds itself as well.
Do you notify with any signs on the road that this is going to happen?
Yeah, on Friday, we're actually going to go around to the neighborhood and put out notices on the doorsteps so everybody will have that. When the race is on, there's plenty of signage, both directions. There's a lot of cones, and also, obviously, Falmouth Police Department will be out there monitoring the course. Thank you.
Doug?
I have three concerns. It lists the potential for 1,000 racers on these roads. during that
Yeah,
time.
right now it's 740. That's what we have, that we're expecting right now. Could be a little higher, but weather will be depending on that, and that's roughly the number right there.
The second is just to point out to people, we're talking this Sunday.
Correct. And again, we've been working with the Falmouth Police Department and Mashpee. We had a course that went through both parts, and so we were going back and forth with them. As the Falmouth road races came up, we really lost communications with the town for a little while on that, and then we picked up right after the race to kind of finalize the course and get it done. This is in concert with the Cape Cod Brew Festival that was held there. It is a fundraiser for the Barnstable County Agricultural Society. We raise $5 per entry fee. It goes back to that organization.
Because it seems like the first documentation we have from the business is end of August. And I just would hope that...
You did approve the liquor license for
Right,
the event, which is on Saturday and Sunday. This is just, the race part took a little longer.
Right, the road race is what I'm concerned about, is that we're giving people a 6-day notification. It's already being advertised, it's happening, even though we haven't approved it yet. So there's putting a little bit of pressure on us to say, you're already advertising on your website, you're already saying it's happening, we haven't approved it yet, when the approval could have been done 3 months ago, and we could notify people. So I just hope...
We've been working since, I will say, since February with the police department. There were some changes in some of the people who are in charge of handling like road races and approvals for the detail work. So we've kind of worked through that. And again, I apologize that it is last minute. We certainly don't want to put you in that position.
When did you actually meet with the events committee?
The events committee?
Yeah, no, did they meet, they didn't meet with the events committee? No, so it came in that late, the request. We have an events committee that reviews all of the requests for any kind of an event. And I guess it came in late and it didn't make the committee. But that doesn't...
Sorry, I didn't know that.
Oh, well, now you do. So
do.
let's put it that way. Yeah, it is much better if you get your request in months early, so that because we have so many events that occur on same days, we have to be very careful that they don't conflict.
I understand.
And
Certainly.
this obviously is off the beaten path and probably would not interfere with either traffic on 151 or anywhere else. But it will, as Doug said, the people who live in the neighborhood probably will have not known about it. Possibly. Okay, so,
Thank you for your consideration.
yes, thank you.
Having voiced my concerns, I would move approval of the craft brew races 5K on September 28th, 2014.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. I'm lining up all these signature documents here. Okay, the next one is a candlelight vigil at Peg Noonan Park on Friday, October 10th, and this is being sponsored by the Cape Cod Center for Women. It's a domestic violence candlelight vigil.
Is there a representative here? I just had a question or two.
Good evening, I'm Diane Pratt. I'm the Executive Director of the Cape Cod Center for Women. We're the only emergency shelter on Cape Cod and the islands for women and children fleeing domestic violence. And October is Domestic Violence Month, so we thought it would be nice to be able to have a candlelight vigil just to do this in memory of some of the victims who have lost their lives and others who happen to be survivors.
And how do you advertise? I'm just curious, it says you're only expecting 8 to 10 vehicles.
I didn't know because this is a brand-new vigil. We've never done it before, at least my organization has never done it, so we will be reaching out to newspaper and radio, but I have no idea how many people might show up. You know, we're a very small organization.
Have you done similar events in the past?
No candlelight vigils or anything like that, no.
And is this Columbus Day weekend?
It is, Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, but it's after dark, right?
Yes, 7 o'clock.
To 8, yeah, exactly.
I move approval of the candlelight vigil for the Cape Cod Center for Women on October 10th, 7 to 8 at Peg Noonan Park.
I'll second.
Second. Any further discussion? Becky?
I think maybe you've just heard that we need to have more information. And when you say we're a small organization and we don't know, and it's the very first time, it doesn't give us too much of a foundation to work with. It's certain things go into our mind when we think about these special events. And it's crowds and traffic and residents and what's being used in our town. And if you think it is something that is going to start with 7 or 8 cars that are going to be parked, and it's significant, but if it makes a change, it becomes significant. So in the format of requesting anything that is being used in the town, it needs to be done in a proper time, way ahead, with a little bit more solid information than you've given us.
I understand, but I don't know how I would know since this is a first-time event, and I'm not aware of any others that have occurred in this area. So I have no idea how many people might want to come to a candlelight vigil for domestic violence. So,
And it's, the only way you'll know that is at the event to see who has responded to your advertising.
absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank
I
you.
hope it goes well for you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next, our long-awaited report from the Department of Public Works. This is going to take a while, and we have Ray Jack here, who's the Director of Public Works, and we're going to get an update on various projects that are being done by the various divisions within Public Works. Ray, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start this out a little differently this evening. I had an interesting day. I had the opportunity to give a presentation on the environment and water quality and degradation issues to fifth graders, 50 of them, at the Morse Pond School today. I agonized over this as to how to prepare such a presentation. What was their academic level going to be? I tried to envision what a fifth grader looked like, right? So I figured, okay, they're going to be about this tall, all right? And then I thought about it. The school system had just opened up, okay, so we're really not dealing with fifth grade level here. We're really dealing with fourth grade. That's the last grade they completed, so how much could they know? That's the last time I'll ever make that mistake. Fortunately, I prepared the presentation at a seventh grade level, and thankfully I did. These kids are really phenomenal. I'm not easily impressed, and I was impressed. We had gotten into a discussion on dams, and it got into global water as well. And so I had a slide up there that had a picture of a dam, which I never thought in my wildest dreams that anybody in there could actually identify. And it was the Three Gorges Dam in China. It's the largest man-made structure ever built, and it's on the Yangtze River. And I had stated mistakenly at the beginning of that if anyone in there could actually answer that question, they could have the rest of the day off. 3 hands shot up. I picked the wrong one because they had the answers, and I actually couldn't believe it. But that's that fifth grade level, you know, and that show that they used to have about Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader or something, there was only like 3 of them on that show, and they were there to help the contestants. Well, try standing in front of 50 of them on an onslaught. It was really interesting. But I think it's truly a testament to the Falmouth school system and the teachers and the staff in particular at the level of understanding and the depth of knowledge that these kids have, even at that level, on some of the biggest issues that we are facing today. I mean, they were ready to take on climate change, renewable energy, pollution issues across the board. I was absolutely amazed by it. So I think it's a true testament to the Falmouth school system. Anyway, I just really wanted to say I wanted to share that this evening. For the Public Works report, I'm serving also as the water superintendent. temporarily, so I'll be giving the water report. Both the water plant and the Little Pond Sewer Service Area wastewater project are on target with respect to design. So we are at or near 100% on both and are ready to submit to the state by the October 15th deadline, which is the SRF deadline. We expect on both projects to get an answer back from the state, hopefully approving both projects before the end of the year. It's expected then that both projects will probably launch at roughly the same time, around February to March in the spring of next year, and both projects are also going to be about 2 years in duration. So we're expecting a construction period that's going to start in 2015 and extend through 2015, 2016, and maybe in a little bit into 2017. For the water side, we pumped 236 million gallons of water during August. There was 230 million gallons, same time last year, so we pumped about 30 million gallons more. However, we had significantly less rain across the Cape than in previous years, so although it's not an official drought, it is an actual advisory. Long Pond's level was at -10, and last year was +4 and change, so the difference is about 15 inches with respect to pond level, less than last year. We're undergoing a water system audit, so that's a paper audit as well as a physical audit. The town, most towns are required to maintain less than or at 10% of unaccounted for water. So that means that we meter what we produce, and then we meter what we bill. And then you basically have to take the difference and be able to account for it. You shouldn't be losing more than 10%, because the more water you lose, the more water you're treating, and the more water you're paying for and not receiving any revenue for. So our system is currently at between 10 and 11%, but we are undergoing this audit. So it's going to do the paper analysis with regard to how much water has been metered over the past several years to try to determine what the condition of the metering system is, as well as the physical audit, which we have people out in the field from a company who are experts in this that are going to be evaluating about 300 miles of main. We have 400 miles of main. It would take it from here to the state of New Jersey, but we're focusing predominantly on the larger components of the system. So I don't expect to have too many leaks to be discovered. I think that most of our 10% loss is really going to be on the metering side. Also, our consultant is working and has been working on a unidirectional flushing program, which is essentially taking the town, breaking it down into segmented components from these sources outward, and identifying key valves in the systems that would be turned in order to flush the water system. So in the spring of next year, I'm kind of giving everybody an advance warning. In the spring of next year, that's when we do intend to start. As soon as the weather breaks, it's going to take about 4 to 6 weeks to complete the entire town, but we will be flushing all of the hydrants and all of the mains. It is very disruptive, so there's going to be a public relations campaign. There will be notices on FCTV, as well as individually in the newspaper on each week, showing people where they can expect to see disturbances. But it is disruptive to the water system, so it's kind of an advance notice. Main Street, you'll be hearing from Peter McConerty tonight on a number of different initiatives on Main Street, but to try to kind of put the whole thing together in one big picture, we're looking at Main Street from Palmer Avenue out to Oxbow as a project area, if you will. And by project, I mean that the Long Pond plant was built in 1898, and the main out front is 1899. So it was the first main that went in after the plant went online, and it's time for it to go. It's going to be millions, several $1 million to replace that main. Fortunately, we were very fortunate to be able to get Main Street as a project area on the state transportation bond bill. So it was submitted in the range of about $7.6 million, but that's just an estimate. It can go up or down and change. We were hoping that they may possibly cover a portion of the water main under that program, but unfortunately we found out subsequent to that they would not do so. So that bond bill allocation, whatever it may be, is really going to be for the surface type improvements. So in anticipation of that, and because those projects that are on the transportation bond bill are highly competitive amongst communities in the Commonwealth, we're going to be doing a transportation study of the corridor area, and it actually begins, when you start looking at transportation, it begins when you come into town at the Terhune intersection. Where do you go, where do you want to go, and how are you going to get there? So that's a wayfinding component that would be able to determine where the traffic is going and where it should go. Then it'll be going down Main Street all the way out to Oxbow. Oxbow is basically the end of Brick Kiln Road where it intersects with 28. So that's a distance of about 18,000 feet. That project is going to take several years, 2 to 4 years, through the process in order to be able to get approvals through the state and locally to be able to get funding to redo Main Street. So with that plan in hand, it's going to enhance our ability to be able to be competitive with it. The transportation study will also look at any type of intersection improvements or road improvements that we're going to need to make along the Main Street corridor. So it's going to be a very comprehensive look at Main Street, and that's being done in conjunction with the planning board. If that does come to fruition with the state, we're going to need to fund the water main separately on our own, so you're going to be seeing that coming up in future town meetings. But that whole 18,000 feet is the area that would need to be addressed on that. At the same time, for our water plant project this evening, I have our representative from Tate and Howard, who is the project manager for the treatment plant, and he would be able to give you a brief update on where we are with the regulatory status and permitting of the plant and timelines. So I would ask the board's indulgence if you give him a couple minutes now and he can run through that quickly for you.
Could I just ask one question? And that is the intersection of Gifford Street and Jones Road. Is that in any of these plans currently or in the near future?
As far
As improving the intersection? Intersection improvements?
We already have a submission in with MassDOT to team up with them, basically, on installing the sewer main, because there will be a sewer main going right into that intersection, so that's already in the works. And we are finalizing design on that portion of water main that will go within their limit of work on 28, as well as extending out into the side streets. And that will be on this November town meeting in order to fund that piece of main in anticipation of being able to replace the future main. So that too is in the works now. The work that they are doing at that intersection, for the most part, is surface type work related to curbing, with the exception of the drainage that they're installing. So they're not actually planning on launching into any paving until next year. So for now, they have the opportunity to get the sewer main in this fall. And even if it's approved at town meeting for the water main component, they'll still have the ability, if they wanted to be able to put that in either this fall and or in the spring. So, yes.
But Madam Chair, and pardon me, Ray, if I may, just to clarify, that is at Jones Road and 28. I think you were mentioning Gifford Street particularly?
By Coonamessett Inn, that intersection.
Oh.
That's the one
A little bit to the west.
Because it's just such a huge backup. It really needs some turning lanes.
Well, it is part of the study area, because the study area will start at Terhune. It will continue down Palmer Avenue to approximately Queens Byway, Depot Ave. Then it will go up Main Street, up toward Oxbow. The other piece of that starts at Terhune and goes down Jones Road all the way down to Main Street, so that incorporates the Coonamessett intersection, yes.
So it could be, well.
Yes, would be included in that second phase.
Intersection improvements.
Yes,
Are you talking about the traffic study as well?
traffic study.
And does that take into account summer, since you're doing it now in the fall?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, thank you. So,
Ryan Nalen is our project manager from Tate and Howard.
welcome, Brian. Probably have to.
Do we want these lights up?
Yeah. Yeah, we want to dim the lights, but does that take a while to warm up?
It's coming up, Kathy.
Oh, it's coming up. Again, I think, Becky, if you one more in the center here, where we are, one of these two. There you go.
Good job.
That's good.
Good evening. As Ray mentioned, my name's Ryan Nealon, project manager with Tate and Howard. Here tonight just to give you a brief update on the status of the water treatment plant. As Ray mentioned, we're approaching 100% design on schedule. The Mass DEP SRF application is due by October 15th, which is only a few weeks away at this point. But we are on schedule to make that submittal. Next slide, please. So with that, I just wanted to run through quickly just some of the permit applications that we've submitted and give you a quick update on where these all stand. The E&F certificate was submitted several months ago. Sorry, the E&F application. The certificate was issued by MEPA in early June. So that was taken care of in June. The Wetlands Protection Act, the notice of intent was submitted to the Conservation Commission and the Mass DEP. We've had 2 hearings on the notice of intent, and there's been a Conservation Commission site walk. At this point, we're just waiting the order conditions to be issued. The Chapter 91 Waterways license application has been submitted for the installation of the new intake screens in the pond. That is currently under review by the Mass DEP. 401 Water Quality Certificate in conjunction with the installation of the screens in the pond is another DEP permit application that goes through the DEP. That has also been submitted. They've requested some follow-up information that we provided. So we're just waiting final word on that as well. Next slide, please. The NIPD's dewatering permit, this was submitted to the DEP, and it goes through the EPA as well.
Could you tell us what that is?
Sure.
NPDES?
A lot of letters.
National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. It's essentially a dewatering permit. This is filed for the work at the raw water pump station, which is close to Long Pond, where we will be encountering water when we excavate. It's a permit so that water can be discharged back to Long Pond after the proper measures are taken. That has gone through the DEP review. They have had no issues with it. It's been forwarded on to the EPA, which has the final say. It's usually a 2-week turnaround. It's been about 3 weeks. We've contacted them. They're just making their final review, but we expect word over the next few days on that permit. The Army Corps of Engineers, that's a federal permit which has been submitted based on our project. We fall into a minor category. It's just a general notification that's been submitted to the Army Corps. They actually had a permit that expired and have requested that we wait until January to submit a New England-based permit, which they are now developing. So we will resubmit that come January. The Massachusetts Historical Commission requested that we complete a locational intensive archaeological survey of the site. This has been completed. There were no findings. The final report's been submitted to the MHC at this point, so we're just awaiting final word from them as well. And the last one here at the bottom, NHESP, which is Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program. They have jurisdiction over endangered species. As you probably know, the eastern box turtle is a concern. At this point, they've approved the permit application, saying that there is not a take on the endangered species, provided that certain operations and maintenance plans are met and a turtle protection plan is in place. If you go by the site, there is silt fencing that has been installed. That is the start of the turtle protection mitigation measures. This has to be done prior to October 15th of this year, because that's the end of the turtle active season. Turtle active season starts again in April, so in order to stay on track and start construction in the winter of 2015, this had to be done now before the turtle active season ends. Next slide, please. And finally, just to give you a quick update on the schedule, Ray did touch on some of these. The pre-qualification process will occur in October and November of this year. That is essentially Due to the cost of the project, contractors had to be pre-qualified in order to bid on the project. So that will be going on in conjunction with the Mass DEP review. We expect Mass DEP approval in November. With that approval in November, we can then go through bidding in December and January 2015. And with that schedule, construction will begin February 2015 and run for a 2-year duration through 2017. That's it.
Questions? So,
Just a practical question. Ray, I think, was mentioning the fluctuation in level as much as, say, for example, 14 inches. When you build the plant, do you account for the fact that the level may rise and fall pretty dramatically depending on rainfall, weather, other effects? And also, I don't know, is it a spring-fed or water body? I'm not sure.
Well, it's essentially groundwater. It's a surface water body, but it's fed through groundwater. Your first question, as far as the levels of the pond, we actually have taken that into account. Right now, at the current existing facility, there's just an intake screen at one depth. The new facility will have 2 intake screens, one at one depth, which is approximately the same depth as the current screens are, so we expect the same water quality. And the second screen is actually 10 feet deeper than that screen now, so that way screens can be changed, or if you, for example, if the pond levels do go down, you have that deeper screen to draw water from.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question. Go ahead, Becky. And then,
On the bidding, tell me the rules about the bidding. You put your bid in, and then, we have an issue about bidding on some other construction in town, so I'm kind of curious about this one.
Okay. So the bidding process will start. We will advertise the bid in the Central Register. There's several filed sub-bids that are going to be included in this project, which essentially are bids in themselves. It's a total of a 6-week bidding period. The filed sub-bids are due 3 weeks after the advertisement, and the general contractor bids are due 6 weeks after. So bids will come in. It's a low bidder. Massachusetts requires a low bid, provided they're a responsive bidder. So when bids come in, we will check references. But with this pre-qualification process that has to be done before bids even come in, all these contractors that are actually providing bids will already be pre-qualified.
And you do take the lowest bid?
Yes, of the pre-qualified contractors.
How many do you expect to receive?
Well, it's tough to say because some contractors, you have a DCAM rating which allows you to bid on project costs.
Can you back up and
Sure.
say that first word again?
DCAM, the DCAM rating allows contractors to bid up to a certain monetary amount. So contractors could essentially team up to meet this DCAM rating. But the actual contractors that can meet the cost of the project are pretty limited.
I want to know if the 5th grade can do all of those letters that were there, because this 5th grader can't do it. And I tried, like I was in a little puzzle thing. Thank you, you're very good, and it just slips right off your tongue. Thank you. I'm just interested in the bidding part.
we talked a little earlier about the fluctuations in the pond in the summer related to weather and use and so forth. I guess I'm thinking that with this new facility, there won't be any additional water pumped other than what we've had pumped in the past, just because the source only has so much water. So it doesn't give us the opportunity to pump more water just because we have a treatment facility, is what I'm saying.
Correct. The plant's actual design is going to be in the 8 million gallon a day range. The goal that I have had over the last 20 years is to provide as much flexibility within sources as possible. So, as part of that, we have the regional water system now, all right, where there are 3 wells up on the base, and Falmouth gets an allocation throughout the year. We installed the Crooked Pond well over the last 20 years, and that well has a rated capacity of 1.44 7 million gallons per day. So we've added a couple of million gallons per day. The Crooked Pond plant is capable of taking another 1 million gallons if we were to find another source and put it into that. So the goal has been to try to stabilize the water system and stabilize the demand throughout the town so we don't have the localized impacts like we do at Long Pond. So the goal there is going to be to try to manage it seasonally. We know that we have no choice in the summertime but to hit Long Pond inordinately hard, if you will. But I think that with the other sources that we have, it'll become much more manageable. Another key thing here too with the intakes. The intakes are going to be on the northern end of the pond. Currently the intake is on the southern end of the pond. There's almost like a separation or an isthmus that actually runs below the surface of the pond. So we have 30 feet on the lower end, 60 feet on the upper end, and that's where we're going to be going into the deeper ranges of the pond. That generally means cooler water, cleaner water because it's further down from the surface so we don't have as much algae, as well as the sediments on the bottom. So it's going to provide an overall better water quality, if you will.
Now, Ray, does that mean that all the water that we pump from all the various sources, Crooked Pond, Coonamessett, the base, and so forth, will that all go through the treatment facility?
No.
No,
Only,
just Long Pond?
Only that water that is pumped out of Long Pond.
Out of Long Pond.
We pump 1.5 billion gallons of water per year on average, of which about 60% of that water at present comes out of Long Pond. So it's a fairly substantial source. There's no question. There is absolutely no question about it. But from a stewardship perspective, okay, it gives us the ability to manage our sources across the board better than we have in the past.
Okay. Anybody else with questions? No? Good. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Or do you have more? Okay. I think they have more, Becky?
Oh, they do have more?
Yeah, not on this, but there are other presentations.
And DCAM is the Department of, or Division of Capital Asset Management.
A state, it's in the state.
Good evening, Peter McConerty, Town Engineer, here to talk to you about some of the recent projects that we've been doing in town. We have many projects going on at all times. As everyone knows, Public Works, the Engineering Department, serves as a support to all the Public Work departments in the project. So everybody sees all the Public Works individuals out in town. They see them out in the street. No one really sees the Engineering Department. We're like stealth in the background. But just a quick introduction. This is our staff. This is our team. You come into our office. This is the staff that you'll meet. On the left is Bob Williams. He's our construction inspector. He's our monitor out when we do testing out at the waste management facility, and he also is in the survey crew. Excuse me. Next to Bob is Scott Schluter. Scott Schluter is one of our project engineers. He actually is the main project engineer. He does all the heavy-duty permitting when we have to go to the state, when we have to go to the Conservation Commission. He knows the regulations very well. Sally in the center, she basically, we call her mom, basically. She takes care of our whole office. She keeps us all together. When the phone calls comes in, she knows where to go and who to send the information to and what individual in the office it'll go to. Next to Sally is Nicholas Croft. He's a new staff member. He joined us in April. He's a lifelong Falmouth resident. He graduated from UMass Dartmouth with a bachelor's in civil engineering, and he's our full-time. He's been here since April, and he's our full-time tech. He'll be our surveyor, and he'll be our engineering on the side. And the guy on the last, we won't talk about him. He's bad news. Bad to the bone. Just a real quick, this is an introduction to some of the roadways that we put through our project this year. This is our Chapter 90 roads. This is not the repairs that we do on the side of the roads. So a lot of times the highway department will go out and do highway repairs on some roads with some drainage problems. These are the roads that actually went through for full either overlays or curbing or ADA or some larger issue than just small drainage. And on this list is 12 streets. Most of them are down in Woods Hole, and most of them are completed at this time. But they did involve heavy work down on Water Street. Woods Hole in this area basically hasn't seen a lot of work down there in the last 30, 35 years. So we really wanted to take care of some of the curbing and some of the roadway and some of the sidewalks down in that area. Main Street, I think everyone knows Main Street with the bluestone over the past several winters. This is the south side of the roadway where the bluestone's been crumbling. Basically because of in the wintertime, the water stays in the ground and penetrates under and it doesn't get a chance to dry up. This is a shot taken that was this past winter. This is the new shot that was taken this past summer. As you can see, there's a seam line in it where it's shiny to more of the dull color. That shiny is a sealant that they put on the concrete, and it stops the water from going in. This project is going to continue. We will be doing more, but I will be talking about this at another in a little while when we talk about the Main Street engineering projects. Depot Ave. I wanted to talk about this for a minute or two. This is a project that's 850 feet long. This is the end of Depot Ave at the gas station. There's a crossing. This project gave me more concerns with design than Davisville that was 8,000 feet long. There's a lot of stuff going on in this area for this small section. This is one of the areas here. When you cross down at North Main Street over to where the gas station is, there was no public landing for anyone to be safe to be able to stand on the curb. So what we did is we pulled the whole, behind that stop sign is the white sign that points and has all the signs pointing up to Highfield Hall. We pulled out the whole island and we ended up forming it in concrete and doing it in concrete. And the reason why we put the edges in concrete is because if we outline the edges in granite, it's close to the roadway. Buses do go down to Woods Hole. If they hit the edge of that granite is very sharp and they'll start getting cuts in their tires or whatever. So we were able to form it all in concrete. We got the bends out, we got the wraps out of it, and we gave a safe place for ADA accessibility. This, I'm not sure if everyone has been reading the newspaper on this, but there's plenty of articles in the newspaper about this project. The last article was this past Friday from the editor, and actually that article hits it the nail right on the head. He did an excellent job at describing what we have for issues up here at this area. This area right here, when we first started construction, there was basically no one to keep anyone in line up there with signage or what have you for the bike path for the street. When they were doing construction up there, nobody was stopping. The vehicles coming down the hill weren't stopping. The bikers coming across the bike weren't stopping. In the morning, you had sun in the eyes of the drivers coming down the roadway. So when we did do this, we looked at doing this, we said what we're going to do is you had railroad tracks, you had the rubber going on the sidewalk on the other side of the railroad tracks, we had drainage issues up there. On the opposite side of the road, on the north side of the road, it was stone dust. Bikers coming around that corner from the north to the south, they were having a tough time maneuvering and stopping. They were skidding in the stone dust. The painting was not that good, the signage was not that good, and the visibility was lousy. So we went up there, we took the tracks out, we took the rubber covers over the tracks out. The tree department went up, the parks department went up, and they cleared all the trees going up the hill so you can see coming down the hill to open the signage up that we already had. We put in concrete ramps with tactile strips on both sides of the bike path so it matches all the intersections up in West Falmouth. We also put on an asphalt, it's about 30 feet long, an asphalt entrance that gets you off the roadway and going north or south on Depot Ave. There's a tree up on the edge of that the property up there. It's the oldest elm tree, and from what I understand, it's the oldest elm tree in Falmouth. So we had to stay away from it with pavement. But what we were able to do is put a 30-foot little entranceway in here with asphalt, so the bikers could come down. They'd have a safe landing to be able to come in, turn, see up the roadway both sides, and cross the street. The blue striping, it's basically a crosswalk ladder effect. That's what we'll be putting up there for crosswalks. We will have the stop signs in the bike path, the dismounts, and we will have the crossings on the street. This is just one of several intersections that we have problems with in Falmouth. Depot is and it's not the busiest intersection. Locust Street is another problem that we have for bikers and for vehicles. Tehuan is a very bad intersection because you have the emergency apparatus going up the street. And that will be another project that we'll be looking at over the winter months. And County Road up in North Falmouth is another one that's very bad. It's this one in particular, nobody was stopping, and it really became a concern for us. So I know you've heard a lot with I've heard a lot with the emails and the letters and the articles in the newspaper. But at the end of the day, when it really comes down to it, if a fatality or if anyone ever did get hurt at this intersection, the shirts and the shoes would be coming into town looking for the record engineer, and I'm the record engineer, so I have enough that keeps me up at night. I don't want to be waking up 2 o'clock in the morning at any time thinking that a biker got hit or there was an accident up in that area. People probably have seen about this. There's there was a couple of articles in the newspaper. This is the Old Dock Road, the public landing. We went through for CPC funds for this project. It's basically dismantling the whole entire dock and rebuilding with pink granite the entire dock. New piles and new, the wharf out front, there's a lot of rotted wooden members replaced. We're looking at putting replacing some of the underground utilities, repaving, and we'll be taking care of some ADA issues up there. So this will be basically a full reconstruction of this project. And I am happy to say that we received the funds that were requested from the CPC. So, and that's already gone through. It's on town meeting floor. Sandwich Road Fields. This is this project was done in 2008, 2009 for the fields, and the parking lot was always, it was graded, but it was always going back and forth, but regrading, and it wasn't. It was not set up for games to be able to, for vehicles to be able to park up there and be able to maximize the space. So working with Helen Kennedy, what we had done is, with the recreation, what we had done is we went for CPC funds last year. We redesigned this parking lot, and this year, the project was completed. If you go out to the project right now, the drainage is installed, the asphalt's installed. There is some viewing areas, some ADA concrete pads for viewing areas, one on each side of the fields. For access for ADA. There's four ADA spots on each field. There's coach parking, there's referee parking. It fits 102 spots, so, and it's a one-way through the parking lot. And if you took a good look at the design, we made it one way and we pushed vehicles so they could only go one way through the parking lot. But it's all been paved. There's also on the opposite edge over there, there's also bet there'll be a basketball court over there, fenced in, that will be able to even fit more recreation.
Quick question, Peter. Do you ever get buses up there?
Right now, there is buses. Right now, what I've been told is a lot of these are home games or what have you, but if there are buses up there, what we were thinking in the future, this is a gate on this. There's two gates. This is a main gate over here. It's always locked. If there is a game with buses could come in here, travel for the parking lot, and they could park in this area and have that gate open. They could just keep on driving right back out if they did have buses for the game.
So maybe there's some signage directing the buses there?
Right now, at this time, the signage hasn't been installed yet, but right now, we do not have any signage for the buses, because this is actually an opening for the accessway. Mm-hmm. If there were buses that come in, I could see that they would be able to come in here and pull into this area, because if there was any kind of problems, emergency apparatus would be able to use this parking lot.
That's a busy street, you don't want them...
It is a busy street, and this is a very busy field, and what usually happens is the vehicles, where you get the vehicle overflow is the turnover, where they turn over between games.
Yeah.
So what happens is a lot of the cars park on Sandwich Road here. But we could only do so much with the spaces. There has been talk in the future, maybe you're extending this field over on this side, going into the woods and adding more parking spaces and asphalt, but right now this is... Right now, for 102 spots is pretty good for the size of the parking lot. We were able to really utilize the whole parking lot. Just a quick update on the intersections. As everyone knows, they've already started. Traffic is bad. It's down to one lane. The projected timeline for this project is November of 2015 at this time. There has been some notices in the paper. I've been calling MassDOT to put some more notices in the paper to let the public know what is going on with these projects. The contractor and MassDOT will be working this year up until Memorial Day weekend. As the director had said, as Ray had said, is this year they'll be looking at doing the utilities and everything underground and bring it up to surface, and then next spring and summer, take the summer off for the Cape exclusion, and then come back next fall and start putting in the traffic loops and the curbing and the traffic mounted hardware and the overheads. So, and then at the same time, we also are working right now with bringing a landscaper on board too, to do some of the landscaping for some of the trees that were taken down. This is for the Jones Road intersection. The next slide is Davisville. It's the same thing. There's Davisville. As you can see, there's 90s on this roadway right here. They really opened it up with a new design. They're really putting in some radiuses because of the truck traffic that goes over in that area over there. So there's going to be a lot of widening on this intersection. But both of them, the plan is now is both of them to be wrapped up by November of 2015.
Peter, back to the Jones Road intersection. CVS is planning to build, I guess,
Yep.
or extend.
Yep.
Will that conflict in any way with the intersection improvements?
What happened is 2 weeks ago, what MassDOT has, actually, they have an office right over here, and they got an office right over here in Homeport, and they try to do bi-weekly meetings, and that was the first meeting that we had, and actually the contractor and the representatives from CVS actually came to the meeting to talk about utilities, tying in driveways, closing down the building, moving to the new building, and timing and schedule. So they will be working closely with that. PA Landers is basically the roadway contractor, so they own the roadway during that time. So they basically own the safety of the roadway to make sure if it's safe. If it's not safe, they will ask the CVS contractors to get off the road for the day and come back another time. But they want to make sure that there's full flow traffic going through that area. But they are discussing and they have been meeting and talking about this. And that's the engineering. I'm here for the night. Yeah, you have 3 or 4 other items coming up, so I will have more if anyone has any questions.
Any questions for Peter? You're off the hook for now.
Trying to make it quick because I'm going.
Pardon me, Madam Chair, I do have a question if I may.
Sure.
Peter, I wondered if you could just briefly update the board. As you know, as part of the arrangement we have with NSTAR and Comcast, they will be doing a project on Shore Road. And I know they're required to go through the permitting on that, and that's part of the Mill Road parking lot project and approval that we went through Board of Selectmen and Town Meeting. Could you give any brief update on what you would anticipate going forward with the schedule of that project? We all know it's been delayed somewhat with through the permitting process, but those entities are carrying the project forward. If you could update that briefly.
This is the area of Surf Drive right at the parking lot.
Pardon me, Surf Drive. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, if you go down there right now, it's all been dig safe in that whole area. Basically, the roadway, what we're looking at doing is we always have a drainage problem right in front of the parking lot from Surf Drive. It's just the slopes of Surf Drive just don't make it to the drainage. And we have a drainage basin, and it always gets filled up with sand, so it just, there's no room in there for the water. So we're looking at redesigning. We're going to push all the water from the roadway into the parking lot and through the channel the bio channel that we already have there and into Salt Pond. So that's already been permitted. It's already been through DEP. We already have our numbers. I've been speaking with the contractor. I would expect that that should be starting up in the next. I was kind of hoping that would be started already. So I'm hoping that's going to be starting up pretty soon in the next month or so. That should be done. I'd like to have it done this fall, completed. So this winter, we will not be dealing with icing and what have you, the roadway. So.
And again, just to point out, that's NSTAR Comcast paying for it. That is not a town-paying project.
Yes. The town made out very well with the project. It was originally a project that we were working with the engineering department, and then when this came along, we were very glad to just hand it off to NSTAR. We had it probably 75% designed. They needed to take it through conservation, and they did. And so right now, it's with the contractor, and it's been dig safe, so I would imagine it should be starting soon.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks.
So for the highway, highway and engineering kind of overlap as far as the roadways. But as we're talking in Woods Hole, this was Water Street at the road race. All the road has all been all brand new asphalt. A lot of the curbing's been done. A lot of the sidewalks been done. It's all new paint striping down the roadway. So much more even surface. The other road had a lot of utility cuts. The gas company went there and really cut Water Street, Albatross Street, Millfield Street up. So we didn't want it to look like a checkerboard down there when we got done. So basically, we did the whole asphalt of the roadway, and then National Grid's actually reimbursing the town for the work that the town had to do for the overlay of the process. So we'll get some funds back for that. Millfield Street, same thing. This is the highway department went in and put utilities down on the top of Millfield Street because water coming off of Sippawisset Road was traveling right down to the low point on Millfield Street and going right into the pond, so to Eel Pond. So we wanted to catch as much as we could at this intersection. We put in basins on each side of the street, and we also put in double frames and grates, so it catches twice the amount of water coming across the roadway. Same thing, just another shot of them breaking ground. And this is completed with the roadway, all completed. They did the sidewalks over, they did the roadway over. Very tight parking down there, so we had to put in temporary parking bans when the construction was going on. We put it in from Mondays to Fridays. The residents down there were very good about it. They moved their cars. The contractor had no problems during paving. So that project worked out very well. That was a tough road. This is Davisville Road. I don't believe that this is a photo from this year. I think it's a photo maybe from last year, but this is an indication of the typical problems that we've had on this roadway with this with the water. The road is flat. It does slope, but it's very flat, and there was not a lot of basins on the roadway. It all slopes down towards Minot Road. So they installed 21 additional drainage structures on to help out with the pipe system that was along that roadway. Regis Road, these are the roadway takings. We did Regis, Redlands, Shepherd's Place, and Austin Stokes. That's all completed at this point. It's all been loamed and seeded and signs. The center island, the association requested that the center island of Austin Stokes be stone, so they put 1.5 inch double wash stone. Looks very nice if you get a chance to go out there, take a look at it. It goes from Club Valley all the way down to the intersection of Courier across from the pond. It looks beautiful.
That's off Route 151.
150, well, actually, he was talking about it earlier
Yeah.
tonight, the run. And this is the bottom of the hill at Austin Stokes, right down at a Schumann Pond. So it's a 1.5 inch asphalt. It came out really nice. Patch preparation, we had as everyone knows, we had a bad winter last year, and as everyone did in the state. And what the state ended up doing is they ended up getting some funds, and giving each community got funds to do repair work for patch work and asphalt work. And this is Falmouth doing this year. We did a lot of roadways. If you drive through the roadways, you'll see a lot of patching off a lot of the main streets. The waste management facility, as everyone knows, we're governed by Mass DEP. These are the gas vents that are out in the site. That's actually a good-looking gas vent. There's 44 vents that we have out there, and they were in all stages of disrepair. Some of them were falling over, some of them were broken. So we needed to go in and repair all the pipes. Public Works, once again, the highway department came in, basically took the covers off, took all the materials out, took all the valves out, cleaned them all out, cut the pipes back, and started reinstalling these basins. This is the typical. This shows you the in-depth work that it takes with the valves and the shutoffs. That gas hose right there is very expensive gas hose. The valves are very expensive. It's industrial work to put this in. So what they ended up doing is that concrete base around that well cap right there. That's a drainage structure top. What they do is they put that on there and they'll fill it with concrete and they'll put the loam seat over the top of that. That vent will not move because there's some high winds up there in the winter time. That vent will not move. Minot Beach, this is as you know, this is the first year that they had the new trailer out on Minot Beach. So for the highway side of it, they went down, they helped out, put the trailer out there, do the trenching for the conduits and the utilities. And that's just the cover for the septic tank. That's a photo of showing it with the ramps down, the accessibility to it. So.
Okay, any more questions for Peter? Thanks, Peter. Thank you.
And as everyone knows, that's just a small area of what's going on in town. I mean, there's a lot of work going on through Public Works, but we try to get it in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry Thomas, Wastewater Division. I'll be quick because everybody else said what I was going to say. We've had a lot of projects going on, and the biggest one is yet to come up. This project is phase 1. It's already under construction, so we can have a better idea of what our effluent flow is coming from the treatment plant. We've had a lot of problems with that. That will essentially tell us how much wastewater is coming from the wastewater facility, and it's a permit requirement. It's already been awarded. We hope to have this project complete this fall, and in about a year, we probably should have a better estimate of how much flow we have leaving the wastewater treatment plant and going to the infiltration galleries. Phase 2 is part of the major project. We have to do a number of things, again, primarily for permit compliance. This Phase 2 is in and around $4.5 million. We have to modify the denitrification system. That's a system where we try to improve, optimize how much nitrogen comes out of the wastewater so it doesn't go into the groundwater. And it's this structure, I know it's a poor slide, that we're trying to optimize denitrification. We're also putting in some chemical alkalinity. pH is important to try to get to denitrification. You go from urea to ammonia to nitrate to denitrification. Nitrification comes off as a nitrogen gas. And then we want to improve our sludge management facility. Right now, we have an older system. Our percent solids is about 1 or 2%. We're paying to haul away water. We hope to try to improve that to 3 or 4%, and that should be a significant savings, in our sludge management costs. Next slide, please. You've already seen this. This is the intersection at Jones Road and 28. This is some of the crews taking elevations of the sewers to make sure, I know it sounds funny, sewers are flowing in the right direction, or the elevations we thought they are. This is important to make sure we have capacity, and this is some of the people taking soil borings, how deep the asphalt is, what type of soils we have down there. That's important to understand the subsoil so we can put in a good sewer. Most people don't think that putting in a sewer you have to worry about settling and things like that, but that's really important. Next slide, please. Our design and permitting is pretty much like the water one, but I just updated it quickly, or abbreviated, because I know you've heard this. We're coming close to the completion of design and permitting. The application goes in October. I'm hoping we can have a betterment hearing late December. It might go into January. I think it depends on factors beyond my control and our control, depending when SRF gets back to us with a guarantee of the 0% funding. And then we commence construction in the spring of 2005, and as Ray said, there's about 2 to 3 years.
Jerry, what is the time frame, do you think, on the state notifying us about the 0%?
It's going to depend on how well, and there'll be a meeting next week, the targeted wastewater management plan defends that we can meet the nitrogen load for Little Pond.
Those are the amendments?
That is the amendment. The key is the selectmen have to commit to meeting water quality in Little Pond, and we will, as I think I distributed to you today, there is no question in my mind that we have the options. The options are inlet widening. The options are putting I&A systems in or putting sewers in. Each option has a fatal flaw. So until we analyze it, and obviously cost will be one thing, but cost will be the simplest thing to determine. It will be the social engineering and the regulatory issues that come with all those options.
Thank you.
Next slide. We're going ahead with the Woods Hole I&I project. We hope to remove infiltration inflow. That's groundwater that comes in through.
Could you describe an I&I project?
Infiltration inflow. It's basically groundwater that comes into the pipes because the pipes are broken. We don't think we have any illegal connections. In fact, I'm almost positive we don't, because we've TV'd this. And this is all from just old pipes. The pipes down in Woods Hole were put in 1946. We have videos where you can see the water just coming in. It fluctuates depending on high tide. We're hoping to get 30,000 gallons a day out. That will help with our permit up at the flow portion of it up at the main treatment plant. We have and hopefully we're a little bit behind, but we hope to have this thing out by the end of this winter. So, and we already have the money appropriated. This will not be paid for with SRF funds, so that means you go a lot quicker without 10,000 eyes looking over you, but properly. The Bourne's Pond Inlet, we've started design on that, and primarily the initial part is modeling to make sure we know how much credit or dilution we're going to get with the inlet widening. We have to go through an environmental review and a regulatory review. Once we pass those stages, we will get into the final design of inlet widening. There is no doubt about it, inlet widening will improve nitrogen. The study really is to say, will inlet widening cause any other environmental impacts to the salinity of the pond? Some people are worried about flooding and things like that. That is really the basis for that, and that will be the precursor to let us know and let you know how successful Little Pond could be. We could estimate how much nitrogen will remove. We don't know if how much the regulatory agency is going to approve it, like it, or whether the neighbors will like it. It's good for nitrogen. It may not be good for the environment. Stay tuned. This is part of our crew cleaning out sewers down in the Woods Hole. As I said before, Woods Hole is the oldest section. It has a lot of restaurants in small areas. We have a lot of grease built up to it's just little we can do. Those properties have very little they can do for grease management. Next slide. This is Pat Nima. She's our chemist. She does all the analytical work so that our operators will know on a daily or a weekly basis how to tweak the treatment plant so we can get it to operate properly. The treatment plant is a biological living system that you have to know. You have to take the health of it every day to determine how to maximize the efficiency and meet the permit limits. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions? No? Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Rocky.
Good evening, Rocky Gomes, Park Superintendent. I'd like to report on a few projects we did this spring and through the summer here. As you know, this is our busy time of the season for maintenance of mowing out 260 acres a week that we mow. So we didn't have a lot of time this year to do a lot of our projects we like to get started with, but this project was to at Goodwill Park. This is a 10 by 30 addition to the pavilion there to make it ADA compliant. So there's actually a picnic table and a grill that will be bolted down there to allow handicapped people to use the tables and their own grill. All the wood from that, just so you know, we have a sawmill that, if you remember, Brian Dale purchased probably 15 years ago. We actually used the sawmill, and we used the lumber that we've been taking down around town to mill all the wood for that. So all we really had to pay for was just a metal roof on that. So it was pretty inexpensive project. Also, Peg Noonan Park. We undertook that project with the assistance of the Sheriff's Department. And they came in and they did a lot of framing for us, and then, they were no longer able to stay. So we had to, I had to train some of our staff to finish it themselves. So we had Leon Murchison and Joe Rubello. They took this project on themselves, and they really did a great job finishing up the project. At this point, we still have some more grading to do. Can you go to the stage? Right in front of the stage, we're having a lot of problem with water runoff, so we have a lot of grading to do there, and then also to add some concrete across the front of the stage. It'll look like this, like the bluestone that Peter was showing on Main Street. It'll look like that. So we have to get that in there, and as I said, deal with some of the drainage issues, and then also put the benches back on there. But we expect, we'll start this project the next couple of weeks, and then then we'll start with the seeding and everything else we need to do. And there's a couple other plantings that we have to put in there. But otherwise, that's what we've done in the spring. But as I said, through the rest of the fall, there'll be a lot more, to report at the next meeting. Okay?
Great. Thank you, Rocky.
Okay.
They said they were going to be quick. I really mean it. Chardell Newton, I'm the facilities manager for the town. These are pictures of the North Falmouth Library. We took on a project with the Sheriff's Department to completely redo the whole library. You can see where we got it down to right down to the studs. We put in new subflooring, walls, partition walls. Mainly our goal was to make it handicap accessible because for those of you who've ever been there, there is no handicap bathrooms there. So what we did is we moved a wall out. We took the men's room and the ladies' room and we made them into unisex bathrooms. So one bathroom is handicap accessible. We changed the ramp out back, we changed the door, we changed the door openers. And the picture down here on the right is the completed project. You can see we put in new lighting, new ceiling. The Sheriff's Department helped us out a lot, but we have an in-house carpenter, and we also brought in a retired carpenter who works for us temporarily, so we bring him in on projects to help out. So mainly we did the work ourselves in that library, except the Sheriff's Department was a great help to us in stripping it down. But most of the finish work was done by my own crew. We installed a window in the rear too, which really opened up. I don't know how many of you have been there. Have you been there yet?
Can I interrupt? I was up there for a library trustees meeting, and it is phenomenal. I mean, it is such a huge difference in that library. I encourage everyone who wants to or can get up there.
It was
to check
amazing
out
how
their
much
work.
the residents really participated. I mean, they were there every day bringing coffee to the guys that were working there. They were so excited about the project. It was just amazing to see. We had the open house, and it was really quite crowded there at the open house. It was a really good reception. They're really happy with it. They still call and say, oh, I just got back from Florida. I can't believe how nice the library looks. So it's nice to have the public, really appreciate some work you did. This is the exterior of the Falmouth Fire and Rescue Department. We just did an extensive paint job on that. Repainted the whole exterior of the building. It was done by CertaPro, who was the low bidder. And actually, the project came in $15,000 under budget because we didn't have as much rot on the building. Normally, when I do these projects, I put in a huge amount of money for rot when you're working with a building that's 1936 on the front facade. So you always come up with surprises. This is the front of Town Hall, another surprise, as we started sanding the front of that building, and the sander went through the wood. So that is all brand new. You can see, you go outside this building permit there, but we had a company from Easton who was also the contractor who did the rec center roof, and they did a great job. So they brought in a carpenter to refabricate what we had there. That's actually a trim tech, so we'll never have to see it rot again. So we're doing the whole front of that right now. The painters started this morning, but we sent them away. It was a little bit windy to be washing the building, so they'll be back this weekend when the building's not open. This is the new electrical service that we worked with Rocky in conjunction with Peg Noonan Park to get them some new electrical out there, because over the past years, there's so many things that are going on now. Now we have bands at night, and we have movies at night, when electrical service was just from back in the day when not much was going on there. So we did upgrade the electrical service. We still got a little bit more work to do with some lighting. This is the interior of the Main Street Library. That's my carpenter, Peter Urban. He's redoing the whole interior there. The woodwork is starting to split apart, and so it really needed some redoing and some more varnishing. So spent a lot of time working on that. And that's about it. The rest of the stuff, the DPW, we installed new roof drains. When we did the addition to the DPW, we took the old main part and converted it into a garage area. Some of the drainage on the roof was covered up when they redid the roof. So we completed that, and we're doing some work at the police station. And we'll be starting on our ESCO project in November, replacing all the HVAC at the rec center.
Great.
Questions?
Questions? No, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
That's it? That's a lot. Thank
Do
you.
it again if you'd
No,
like.
thank you very much, Ray.
Thank you.
And to your staff, too. That was great. It's really so helpful to know what's happening. There's so much going on in the town that you really don't know. And I hope the people here and the people at home, really enjoyed this presentation, because it gives them some idea of what's happening everywhere.
And we thank you and we appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Ray.
Just perfect.
Thank you.
So now we will,
More for Peter.
yeah.
Peter's coming back.
Peter, you're going to talk about the Guscan landscape improvements?
Yeah,
Do we have the clicker?
Looks like the clicker's moving to sit over there.
Sorry, I'll just let you know what you need.
Okay, thank you, then. So the engineering department has been asked to do, to see what can be done at, along Main Street in the Gus Candy Center. There's a grass area. You can do a slide, please, Heather. To do the grass area out in front of the Gus Candy Center. This is a full shot of the whole area. This is the grass area that's that we'll be discussing. But as this wanted to see if we could do a special event plan is what this will turn out to. And a special event plan, we have many of them through the year. Actually, we have one coming up in October, the Emergency Preparedness Fair, where people go over to the Gus Candy Center and might be things like that. We have the CERT members, you have the fire station, and the be able to see if this would actually work for a good plan. Basically, what we're looking at doing is have a traffic flow to come in to the Gus Candy Center through Main Street, park and have the event. On the way out, instead of having an exit come back out Main Street, what we're looking at is maybe having the traffic go down behind the building. There's a gate right here, come through the gate, and there's a track right here, run along the back of the track. And there's also an outside fence up over here at Dillingham Ave, and exit through Dillingham. What we're looking at doing, this is for special events only. It wouldn't be a daily thing. While we were out there looking at this, some of the things that we need to consider during the design of this is, I had some bullet list of my items over here. This gate on this side over here would have to be widened. It's like 12 feet now. We'd have to widen that out to 14 feet or so. This track right here, I believe I'll have to see if I can work with the Recreation Center to see how active that track is. There's a football field that works in this area. So what we might be looking at doing is putting some kind of safety barrier along the field on this side, right over here, to differentiate the track, the bluestone track from the field. As it comes up through the area here, one of the items is the exit through the fence at Dillingham, the one-way along the track on this side, the one-way through the exit gates, which would be on this area, the entrance onto Main Street, which would be over on this area, the landscape improvements within the grass area along Main Street. This grass, I'll show you a detail of what we had. This grass area is approximately 30 feet wide. And also installing a concrete textured block wall on the main back of the sidewalk on Main Street. Slide, please. So a little more close detail on the front grass portion of it here. What we're looking at doing is we're looking at installing it's a concrete, it's a gravity wall. It's basically, when you install it, it's done by weight for the wall, so you don't have to put tie backs in it. That they weigh, it's solid concrete. They can weigh 2,400 pounds. But the sections are 18 inches high, and the face of it makes it look like a rock face of it. It's a textured face on the front of it. And we're looking at putting it on the back of the sidewalk, from the sidewalk down, basically across from where Dairy Queen is here, all the way up to about 20 feet off of where the entrances would be, where the police station would be. We're looking at putting two blocks. They're 18 inches high, but the blocks have to be set below the sidewalk 8 inches. So 36 inches minus 8 inches would be about a 30-inch height wall. I think it would be perfect in the summertime if people want to grab an ice cream to be able to go over and sit on the wall. If the parade, the Christmas time parade, people will be able to go and sit on the wall and watch the parade go by. So it would be a nice enhancement to Main Street in the area. Next slide, please.
Peter, is that graffiti proofed at all? I know it's textured, but what about the top?
So there's different, I was looking at them. There's different things you can do with the top. One of the questions that were brought up is on the top of the wall. There's a concern that skateboarders are going to use it, and they're going to be skateboarding off it, and they're going to be jumping up and down off it. And it will be almost 30 inches high. You don't want anyone to get hurt. You could use it as a regular wall block, so it would be a block wall on the top. But another item, that feature that these walls have, is the top course. It has a little lip on this top course that goes back about 6 inches, and then it drops down 6 inches, and it runs to the back of the block. And what happens is when you put your lumen seat on top of it, it comes right up and hits the front of the block. So you're looking at the wall, you're only looking at the first 6 inches of the wall, the top of the wall, and then behind that's all lumen seed. The wall is underneath the lumen seed. It'll prevent, and it'll deter, anybody going up there with their rollerblades or the skateboards to go up through it. And it'll also give more of an area, more of a grass area for the front grass area.
Smart.
So what we're looking at is this is Main Street. You got a granite curb. It comes back 5 feet for the concrete sidewalk. And right in the back of the sidewalk, we'd be looking at putting this textured granite wall. And in the meantime, right now, immediately, what we're looking at is just that textured top would have the grass go right up to the 6 inches of the edge of it. We'll have some more discussions on that. The wall is 41 inches wide. It goes 41 inches back. So this whole area in the back, from the face of the wall up to the tree, which is approximately, the whole island's 30 feet, the tree's right in the center of it, it's approximately 15 feet. We'll be filling that all with a soil mix, loam and seed soil mix. And what that will do is, as you can see, existing right now, the existing ground is like an arc shape to it. It goes up and down, kind of makes it unusable. If we put the wall in and we fill this up with loam, we will not have to do any digging around the trees and any digging around the tree roots. We'll be just blending maybe an inch or two right over the tops of the tree roots. I'll be working closely with Rocky on that if we work on that. And so what that'll do is that'll leave this whole front area, this whole front 30-foot grassed area available for anything. You have the car shows in the summertime. You'll have a second area to be able to put events if you wanted to put some type of event in the area down here. And this type of work, this is most likely something that we could do in-house. We do have the equipment to do to put the blocks in, to do the excavation, to put the stone in, and to haul. It's just a matter of scheduling for the Parks Department, for the Highway Department on doing that. So that's what we're looking at right now for the 30 feet. This is just a spec sheet right here for one of the typical walls. They show a 6-foot-high wall. We'd only be going up 2 feet. We wouldn't have to worry about all those blocks. But that's a typical block right there. I think it says 42, 43 inches long, 18 inches high, and they're 41 inches back. And basically what happens is it's got a little, it's basically a ball and cup. That's kind of like the ball area where the next section would sit right on top of that and it would be hollowed, so it locks it. So between the gravity and that wall, it'll all be one that will not move. So I think that's the last slide. But yeah, that's the last slide for that. I didn't know if you had any questions on that, but we will be working with of course, we'll be working with Helen with the rec center on that. We'll be looking more in the back of the field to make sure if something's set up for that it is going to be safe for either the players, the Commodores. There's some batting cages back there, so we still have a little bit more to do that. But we're looking at maybe some kind of safety railing or something along the back of the fence.
Okay, we'll start at your end. Becky?
I don't know whether I missed it in the beginning about the timeline, but what are your dates in the beginning?
So right now, this is still in design, it's still conception, we're still talking about it. To actually put the wall in front of the grass strip, it's pretty basic. It's basically just go out there and purchase the blocks, dig the hole, and put the blocks in. What I would be thinking of doing, though, is you would want to have at least a half a year before you start putting events on it. You'd want to loam and seed it and give the Rocky would be able to talk about it better, but be able to loam and seed it and give it some year for the grass to germinate and come through, and then overseed it again the next spring, so you'd have something on the ground that they'd be able to work with. As far as scheduling, it could be done as soon as late this fall, early next spring. It's just the scheduling of what I would see is the wall, the portion of it first. I mean, I think the back area with the field is and the traffic routing, opening up the fence back there, those are small items. Those are like minor items. So.
I was glad to see that in your plan, because I think when we went over and walked all through that area, that there was such a benefit to using Dillingham.
Yeah.
And I called that area a little alley. I just thought it was already there, and it just needed to have you go in and fix it up as such.
Yeah, and I think what we'd be looking at doing is keeping it a stone dust track, for the amount of times that it'll be used, to keep a stone dust track, because I do believe that between the football and the Commodores or whatever, they do use it, or they use it as track. So,
Well, and I think it's also a way to put any of the products that may be coming in to anything, the special events, that path is already there. So.
Yep.
It's just.
It's basically there. It's just we just have to do a little refinement on it. It's going to be one way, It's not going to be two-way traffic, it's going to be one-way, and when they get out to Dillingham, they can go right or left onto Dillingham. It'll take them right out. It'll alleviate some of the traffic across from Scranton Avenue. One thing you don't want is vehicles coming, entering, and exiting on Main Street with police apparatus. They're trying to get through there too. So,
Thank you.
I just think we may find that traffic pattern so attractive that the number of special events that we say are going to use that traffic may be not once every month, but I can imagine every Commodores game. Boy, would it be nice to be able to have that traffic go out that way, either as an option or as the only option. I mean, when the game's over, getting out of that parking lot is a long, long process.
And I do think that, if we put this plan into motion and it does come in to fruition, I think that as we work on it, I think it'll make it better and better in that area, because it will alleviate. Pulling out of Scranton is kind of tough, trying to get someone coming out of the Gus Candy and pulling out of Scranton at the same time. And then the people on Main Street are trying to, so it gets pretty congested in that area. So I think no, I do. I think that'll be a good alternative. Yep.
Anybody else? No? Thanks, Peter.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you.
Next is Peter.
Next is Peter. You're still there?
I just kept it on the same.
Oh, Great Bay?
I just kept it on the
Main
same.
Street.
Yeah, I just kept it on the same presentation, so, yeah, I had to put them all together. So Main Street engineering projects, the Director Ray, you've heard Ray talk about the traffic study that's coming up. I might as well talk about that first. As Ray had mentioned, this was generated from funds that the town was able to get onto the transportation bond bill. So in order for the town to go and get funds off the transportation, it can just stay on that list for 20 years, 30 years. So we actually have to aggressively go and get those funds off the list. And in order to get to the funds from that bill, this is one of the steps, is to do a transportation master plan. So what would happen is that we're actually in the process right now, working with the planning department to do interviewing companies for this master plan. And so it would incorporate, I think one of the questions was summer traffic. It would incorporate summer traffic. What we had done earlier this year is we got a hold of the Cape Cod Commission and requested all the intersections and all the for the traffic counters that they put out in the streets. We put them on Brick Kiln, Main Street. We put them all the way out Davis Straits. So we'll have that information electronically from the automatic counters. What they also do is they go out and they do manual counts to see, manual traffic turning movements, and they watch the automatic, the ATRs, the automatic traffic counts. I'll try to pronounce all the full words on there, because it can get confusing. They are good at picking up vehicles because they work by an air pressure going into the tubes. But what happens is when you get 5-axle trucks and 4-axle trucks, sometimes you want to be able to get the truck turning movements, and then you also want to put the pedestrians into it, and you also want to put the signals into it. So, that all adds up. The traffic is great, and it just counts the traffic. But once you start adding all the other items into it, that's when it starts. You can start bogging the system down, starts bogging the intersections down. So what this will be looking at is they'll be looking at safety improvements for sidewalks. They'll be looking at ADA compliance. They'll be looking at actually signage on roadways. I don't know if most people know that. And signage actually has a year. There's a life term for signage. It has what they call it is retro-reflectivity of the signage. If you see the new signs on the roadway at nighttime, they really glare back at you. It's a little prismatic film that they actually put on. The 3M makes the signage that puts on for the stop signs and for the yield signs. And after so many years, the suns have hit that, it starts to fade away, so you usually get about 7 years out of that. So there actually is a directive from MassDOT that every 7 years you need to change the signage out. It's a very extensive and expensive project, so we do the best we can do, but they'll be looking at signage. They'll also be looking at trucks, vehicle routes, wayfaring on the roadway, what they can use for roadways. We got Jones Road, you got Catherine Lee Bates Road, you got Main Street. Is it worth sending trucks down Main Street if they're going out to East Falmouth? If they're making trips to Falmouth Lumber, would they need to go down Main Street, or can they just go down Jones Road, to get through that intersection? So that's what we'll be looking at, but it'll be an extensive project. And what will happen after that project is then we'll start looking at going into design and putting some projects into going into design. What happens with those projects is they get broken up. I think the Main Street project was in the millions, and the highs to $7-8 million. What happens is it goes through the Cape Cod Commission, and as Ray had mentioned, all the towns are going for those funds. So the Cape Cod Commission only gets a certain pot of money every year, so they try to divvy it up through the towns. So most likely, this project will probably be split up into maybe 2, 3, 4 segments over the next several years. But until we get working on it and go and looking for those funds, that's what we're trying to get to right now. So, and I think this master plan is going to be a perfect segue for us to go in there, because it's going to bring in all the issues that we need to be looking at. It'll take care of immediate concerns. It'll take a short concerns and short-term concerns and long-term concerns. Immediate, and then up to 5 years, and then long-term, 10, 15 years down the road we'll be looking at. So that's for the transportation study.
When is immediate?
Immediate is like within 6 months, immediate. So things like that, what they'd be looking at is they'd be saying signage. For the most part, it would be like a signage, or it would be maybe some paint striping and things like that can be done immediately. Maybe some truck signs or something like that in the short term. And then the long-term thing would be all the intersections. If they're going to be looking at all the intersections, that would be more a long-term thing.
When would you envision there would be no trucks on Main Street? I mean those really big trucks that are coming, the size of, bigger than buses.
Well, I was going to actually speak about that coming up in actually a few minutes. But we were doing some observations over the summer months, and some of those big trucks, they can almost be a twin tandem truck. Some of those big building trucks that come up, they're very large, and they come down. And they're so large, they're scraping all the bottoms of the tree branches coming down Main Street, and they really can tie up some of the traffic. So I think that with this traffic, they'll be looking at a routing system for these trucks. Where can we put them? If they're going out of town, if they're going towards 28, can we bring them up Jones Road? Can we bring them up Catherine Lee Bates Road? So, when you see, I do have some traffic data here. When you see there's a lot of trucks, there's a lot of vehicles, but there's a lot of trucks during the daily movements. So, and I'll be bringing that up shortly. So, and these will all hit all those subjects. Sorry, thank you, Heather. So actually, that takes me right into this. What I'd like to do is, what we did is the engineering department was asked to do some traffic counting over the summer months. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand out some packets of the traffic counts, but basically what it is this is on the left side here, this is basically the traffic count that we did.
Thank you.
There's numbers in there for all the days that we've counted. This is a blank traffic sheet. I wasn't going to get into the numbers right now for the traffic counts. I think unless you would like to get into the numbers, but I think one of the better things to do is to maybe review the numbers, and then I can come back at another time to.
That's what we were thinking, that maybe you could just go over them tonight, but then we should have more of an in-depth conversation about what the numbers really tell us. But tonight, just make the presentation, and it'll give us a chance to look at it, and then come back to a full discussion in another few weeks.
Yeah.
Is that agreeable to everybody?
So as you see, on the left is a typical traffic turning movements. On the right is the aerial map that we showed. On the right, you'll see the little red arrows. That shows the turning movements that we were talking about. Basically, what we did is we set up on Main Street, right at Library Lane. So we set up on Main Street, counting vehicles. The V is the vehicles, the T is the truck, the P is the pedestrians, and the B is the bikes. So we counted them going westbound and eastbound on Main Street. And we also counted them taking right turns and left turns out of Library Lane, and also doing left turns and right turns from the east and the west into Library Lane. So with that, we were able also, the first sheet, as you see the map, that first sheet you see The first day we set this up, we were still getting used to doing the traffic counts. So you'll see on coming out of Library Lane, there's a lot of NAs. And what that NA is that we would not set up at Library Lane the first day. The first day we were set a little closer towards Ben and Bill's. But what we did figure out is the second day that if we set up at Library Lane, we'd be able to get all those turning movements and all those movements. So that's why the first sheet has all NAs are coming out of Library Lane, but then following that is all the actual counts. At the bottom of the sheet, you're going to see the totals for the bikes, the vehicles, and the pedestrians. We also, what you have in front of you is you have daily counts for the days. The tops of the sheet says what day of the week it was, the date, who did it, and what the weather was.
I don't think I see any weekends. Did you particularly choose Tuesdays and Thursdays?
We chose Tuesdays and Thursdays. We did not do weekends, no. So basically what happened is we're trying to get something to the selectmen so you could see what you had for counts. So you have the date, you have the time, you have the weather, who did it, and I think the weather was big because it makes a difference if it's sunny out, or if it's cloudy, or if it's raining out. And in the bottoms it has the tallies and the totals. So what you can do with this is you have the daily totals. One sheet per day is the daily totals. We counted from 9 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. But what we did in that 9 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon is we had counters and we had tallies. Every 15 minutes, we had a tally sheet. So we have sheets for every 15 minutes for this. So one of these sheets were created every 15 minutes throughout the day. So there was 2 people on the street. One person was counting vehicles coming in and out and going down the street, and the other person was counting pedestrians and bikes. The person that was counting vehicles was also counting trucks that were actually stopping and making deliveries, usually at 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning. You just have the front sheets right now for the daily totals, but we have all the 15-minute backup data that at another time we're going to submit to you too. So you'll see when the trucks came in, but you'll also be able to see the peaks during the day. You'll be able to see the peak hours. Is it lunchtime? Is it mid-morning? Is it mid-afternoon? So you'll be able to see the peak hours of when the traffic was high and when the bikers were high or the pedestrians were high.
Another question here. For the official traffic study, are they going to include weekends, especially weekends in the summer? Is that already counted by those tabulators, do you know?
Yeah, we're still going to be refining that with the traffic companies. In the past, I've done many of these in the private sector, and usually what we do is we did full day counts. Usually what you do is you do morning counts from 7 to 9 in the morning, and then you do from 4 to 6 in the afternoon. That's basically the peak hours. But I think working with the town manager, with Julian, we wanted to get a whole day to see in the summertime what the traffic was doing.
But I'm particularly asking about weekends,
Correct.
since we are a vacation
Correct.
town.
Yeah, correct. So what that transportation, we are going to be working with the consultant. They will be doing, they typically include weekends.
Okay,
So what the traffic counters will include, they usually do a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and then they'll do a weekend. But like I say, that only counts traffic. It doesn't take into consideration the trucks and the pedestrians and the signals and the congestion in the roadway. So yes, that will be, because the biggest thing is that the summertime traffic is going to be the controlling factor on this transportation study.
And summer weekends, otherwise you're missing the elephant in the room.
Right. And I think what will happen with this transportation consultant, there'll be meetings. I mean, this won't be done, they'll meeting as they go away with the town officials and what have you to make sure everyone we're picking up what we need and we're getting what we need. So it just won't be through the planning office and the engineering office. I think everyone's going to be involved with this, so.
How do you translate, I don't know if you know this, a traffic study to parking needs?
So what happens is, like, I would take a look at this, and I would look at and say, all right, you have, I'm just going to throw a number out there. Say you had 2,000 pedestrians in a day, all right? And the only way they usually come into town is, I mean, we don't have any airports, we don't have any railroads, we got a train station, we got a bus station, but I think most of the people come down here by vehicles. So I would look at that and I'd say, all right, you break the pedestrian, you break them up to 3 people per vehicle. All right, so you'd have 3 people per vehicle, so that would be about 300, 400 cars coming into town that certain day or that certain time period. So they'll be able to get a rough of how many people go into a vehicle. It's in the transportation and the planning books. And they'll be able to break it out to say how many vehicles there are and then how many pedestrians there are. And you could even take it as far as to say, you got 3 pedestrians, they come down the street, each group of pedestrians is spending $100 on Main Street, they're spending $50 on Main Street. We knew when we were looking at it, we didn't see, most of the time, we're not seeing workers, we saw mostly families in July and August, and they had strollers, or they had, but it was families walking down the street. So you could tell that there were vacationers, and they weren't really a lot of the local, they were, tourists that were coming into town. So there's a lot that you can do with that information for the pedestrians. I think when you see some of the numbers, though, some of the numbers are quite high, and also all this information will also would be submitted to the traffic consultant. So this will be additional information that they'll have for downtown area for us. So it was quite extensive, and I think the very last page shows the tabulation of the number of days that we did, the day of the week that we did, and the final numbers that we had on each day. So I'll be 4 times 9. I'll be giving you another 36 times. I think we did 8 sheets, so 30. So I'll be giving the pamphlets will be pretty thick when the total gets to you. But this is just kind of like an overview of what we had done out there. But when you start getting into those 15-minute breakdowns, the planning and the consultants can really, it's valuable information that they can really start looking at traffic. When we were also on Main Street, one of the questions that we were looking at is the parking on Main Street and the turnover on Main Street. We actually didn't go out and chop tires, but we were keeping our eyes on the traffic on Main Street and the parking on Main Street. And it did not appear in the section of Main Street that we were at that vehicles were staying excessive amounts of time. You might have been a few of them staying an hour and a half, but for the most time, a lot of that parking was rotating out, Just by, visual observations, we didn't count, but it looked like it was turning out. Next year, it was requested, when school gets out, we're going to be putting some parking signs, some directional signs over to the Mullen Hall School to get additional parking. So that'll help. That'll bring a lot of more vehicles into town. Bluestone sidewalk repairs. I just want to touch on this. To this point, they did all of the south portion of Main Street from basically the green down to Shore Street. And they'll be starting very soon, they'll be starting in front of Town Hall. That's in tough shape. They'll be starting in front of Hall, they're going to replace all that. Then they're going to come back and they're going to seal all the seams that were on Main Street where they did it. They didn't seal it yet. You want to do that early in the morning. You don't want, it's kind of like a sticky mixture that they put in. It doesn't take long to dry, but you don't want people tracking it. But I think we're going to be looking at also on the north side of the street, there's some bluestone areas up there that we're having problems with. So we're going to be looking at replacing that bluestone too, and hopefully that'll come up, if not late this fall, it'll be early next spring for the opposite side of the street. And just as a quick note, today, the LED street lights on Main Street, they're all converted now, so they've all been converted to 4,000 Kelvin LED lights. So if you get a chance when you drive out, they should all be even lighting, all the black lights. And if you have any questions?
Madam Chair, could I just make one comment? I apologize, Peter, I should have commented that on this count data. I just wanted to underscore for the board, as Peter's aware, our intent in doing this was to begin to give selectmen some data points. It wasn't a be-all or a final product, but a work in progress. So it's just a start, as Peter has indicated, it gives us some information in a quantified way that we did not have before. So it's a start, and I really want to thank Peter and his colleagues for the excellent, a lot of this is time-consuming and deliberative, but very helpful over a number of days. And we just made a decision to get a couple data points each week. That's why we selected a Tuesday and a Thursday. But we intentionally knew that we couldn't get everything covered. So just to start for some data points to give the board some additional information. And those are some of the things that we had talked about in the months past. So it is a very helpful start in that regard. And I want to thank Peter for all the help that you provided there and clarify that for the board as well.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I will be submitting at another time, or hopefully in the near future, if you get a chance to review the data, I'll submit the remainder every 15 minutes. We were able to do, when we were out there counting, we were right there at Library Lane and Main Street, and we did Tuesdays and Thursdays, so we did have a third person out there on one Thursday, and we counted the traffic for the event, the Farmers Market event, coming in and out. It's out of Thursday, it's in the packet, I think it was in mid-August or what have you, so you'll see the counts from the Farmers Market.
It was good to see that they all left.
Yeah.
It showed that everyone who came in left, and that was a...
Well, actually, we did, we lost a few. It looks even on the sheet, but we lost a few because they come in the front, and I think they walked out around the back where the parking lot was, but I think we got most of them. But that will be very helpful data, and it will be helpful for the traffic consultant. Absolutely, so we're all set? We're all set. So for the Great Bay Street, I was asked by the board, we had a fifth roadway closure that we requested, I think it was in July, 2 months ago. And it was requested by the board that there's so much going on in Great Bay right now with roadway closing and things going on. And the residents, I'm sure, are calling in this concerns that they asked for an update to see what was going on with the roadway. So what I wanted to go through was the slope repairs, the access stair repairs, and drainage. This slide is just I had put it in last year when we started doing the roadway closures, but basically the area of concern that we're talking about is from Chestnut Street to Minot Road, and that total roadway length is 6,830 feet. The property is land court. The property was deeded to the town by Henley Lefevre in 1954. The land court certificate does not include the roadway, so when working with town council, they had mentioned that all the information that they reviewed the land court, they reviewed the title, they reviewed the certificate, they reviewed the deeds, that the roadway is private. So it's a private roadway where the town has one side of the roadway and the abutters have the other side of the roadway. So Great Bay, this is where all the 5 closures are. So the area closure number 1 is from Oak Street to Harrington Street, that's 350 feet. Area 2 was Cypress Street, it's right on, that was the north side of the boat ramp. The south side of the boat ramp is Cypress Street to Philadelphia Street, 450 feet. Area 3 was Iroquois Street to Reynolds Street, that's approximately 220. Area 4 was Hiawatha Street to Providence Street, that's 230. And Area 5 was Pecasset to Boston, that was the most recent that we just did, was 200. So the total road closure that we had out of that 6,800 is 1,450 feet. So it's basically a quarter of the roadway. What we had done is when we put the roadways up, we put the dead-end signs up, and we put the boulders at the end of the roadways, and we put the street closed at the end of the roadways. So, you know, I think during the first couple of months, there was vehicles traveling down the roadway thinking they can get through. I think we're past that now, or we should be past that for the most part now. If you were standing down by the boat ramp and you were looking up, these are some of the photos you'll see of the ramps. Of the slopes. You see some of the areas up in this area, there's a pipe sticking out of the bank, and this area is really starting to slough off. It's more than a 1-to-1, so each storm we get, that is actually starting to come off. And what happens is you see is the vegetation is starting to fall off the edge of the bank too, which actually holds the bank together. This is another photo that was looking north, this is looking south. The same thing with the area here. You'll see that it's all starting to slough off. This area, all the vegetation is starting to fall off, and it's starting to fall towards the bottom. This is one area that was one of the, as far as closeness to the roadways, this is one of the areas that was one of the worst. It's the end of Reynolds Street, and what had happened is the bank comes in 3 or 4 feet and wraps around and keeps on going. There's a sitting ramp here where people can come in and sit, but that actual slope erosion repair right there is getting really close to where they're sitting, so that's one of our concerns. It could be contributed to pot water, that could be some drainage water coming down here, there's a drainage pipe next to it, but that's an area that we definitely we'll be looking at doing some repair. This is just another shot, just standing up above it and looking straight down. That's probably about 10, 12 feet. Access stairs. There's 9 sets of access stairs along in different areas along the beach. This is one set of, it's probably a 20-foot high bank. There's 3 or 4 sets of access stairs that are further south that are smaller. They're not as big as this, so they wouldn't need as many repairs. But as a public land and public access, we want to be looking at doing some repairs of these roadways, fixing the posts, making sure they're settled in the ground. Just to back up, what I had done is I included, I'm sorry, I included the funds for this road, for doing repairs in this road in the capital. It's a high number, so what I did do is I split it to do the funds for the erosion repairs as one part of it, and then the funds to fix the access stairs and do the drainage is another part of it. It's a much lower number. So I split them out, so there's 2 numbers with the capital. In our office, we had done the drainage calculations for the roadway coming down Mara Vista. This is all Mara Vista. That's Oak Street up there, coming down Mara Vista all the way down. There's not many basins on the roadway at all, and you can see all the color areas on this where those are all areas of contribution where the water is actually coming down the road, and it's all coming down the road, and it's either going to the left or the right or going either into Great Bay or Little Pond, a good portion of it. So what we want to do is we want to install additional basins along that road, quite a few, depending on the size storm we want to pick up. But all those areas and all the ends of all those roadways, actually, these are some of the numbers right there. You can see it in the side. There's some of the numbers of the basins that we're looking at putting in. So quite a few basins, but it would alleviate a lot of the water going down the side streets. So we'd be looking at, and it would also cut a lot of the water out of those 2 outfalls, one at Reynolds and one at Randolph. So this is the latest plan that we had. The areas of the major bank erosion. Basically, there's 5 areas, and they closely represent our road closures. It's not exact, but they're in the areas, they overlap, but they're right closely represent what we did for road closures. So the first area, once again, is Oak Street to Harrington Street. That's 510 feet. Cypress to Philadelphia Street, 250. Iroquois to Reynolds, Maple to Providence, and then Boston to Brockton. So what we're looking at doing is the total area requiring bank erosion repairs would be 2,000, so it's about a third. It's about a third of the roadway. To do these repairs would also need to have access to the beach, because you can't do a lot of these things you can't do from the top. It has to be done from the bottom. So it'd have to be getting access. So the top area, it's hard to see, but that in yellow, they'd be using the boat ramp as access to get machinery down. The second area would be looking at this area right down here, down near Reynolds Street to be able to come through. Down near Maple Street as another area, and down near Pocasset or Boston Street as a 4th area to be able to access the beach. What they'd be able to do is they'd knock the bank down, get to the beach, and then they'd build it up when they were completed. The red area is one type of slope erosion repairs, and the yellow area is the second type of slope erosion repairs, and I have it on another slide. Actually, I have it on this slide. So the red area at the very top is what they're looking at doing is a stabilized bank and putting some sand nourishment at the bottom of the bank, but at the bottom also underneath this area to put in some armor of stones on the bottom of it and covering it over with sand, because in this area it's so straight and it's so flat in that area, it gets hit with the storms. Working with our consultant, he felt that would have been, the company felt that would have been better to put the armor stones down and come over the top of it with the sand nourishment and then rebuild the dock. So you won't see the stones, it'll be nourishment on top of it. And then the bottom area down here is where these other 4 yellow areas are here, would just be sand nourishment going straight out below the mean low water area. So what we're looking at, it's just nourishment. It's all soft solutions. So depending on the storms, it is on the inside. It is on the inside of the storm. It's not on the ocean, so you're not getting the wave action. But depending on the storms, you could get 3 years out of it, 5 years out of it, 7 years out of it. That's going to be a tough thing. So I think as a town, what we really need to do is just sit down and decide, what we want to do with the roadways. We have many roads in Falmouth that need a lot of repairs to them. So So I think I think as a committee or we should sit down and talk to see if the work's going to be done. But that's why I broke out that on the CIP account, broke both parts out for the stair access and the drainage, because maybe one can be done before the other. And I think that's, yeah. So I think that's basically where we are for the slope erosion repairs. Our contractor gave us a cost estimate for it, and we've included it in our capital. So I think right now, we don't want to work any further on it. We don't want to submit to the Conservation Commission until we get where we're going with it, because once you submit to the Conservation, you get a permit, and there's a duration to that permit, and then you got to kind of backtrack and go over again. So I think that's where we are for now. We're in pretty good condition as far as the design for it.
Do you see this, Peter, as a phasing? Or can you do like one piece of it and it'll last for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years? And I guess I'm not really clear.
A phasing?
Yeah, in other words, if this is 1 year, we can do this year, and then are there more projects that would have to be done to sustain it?
I think, yeah, I think that's what we'd have to discuss is the total price of there's a big price to the total cost to fix if we did it all at once. So we might have to break it up into some segments to do that. The stairs and the drainage will be separate, but as far as the bank erosions, those 5 areas, it could get costly.
So?
Do you have a more resilient solution after this 3 years that this one project is going to last? Are you going to, in other words, can we do a two-prong approach where we look ahead for the 3 years and start working on that while you're doing this?
Well, yeah, as far as doing a more permanent solution, maybe you're saying?
Right.
Basically, that is the permanent solution. We're not allowed to do any armament along the shore fronts or what have you.
So we're going to have this continued expense every 3 years, and it's going to continue to erode?
It's going to continue to erode. It might not be every 3 years. These slopes have lasted many years. They've lasted many years in the past, and, the roadway's still there. It's getting close to the roadway. It's still there. But we're starting to get more and more heavier rainstorm and more tropical storms and winter storms. So, yeah, it's going to continue to erode. And what happens with these soft solutions is, and I understand the whole process and the whole theory behind the soft solutions, but what happens with it is we're not, as Public Works, we're not set up to do the recommended maintenance on it to, every year or every 2 years, every 3 years to keep it going. So usually what happens is it will go so many years, and then we'll be back up to see if we can do some more repairs to it. Just as a quick, we had all our bridges in town, most of them, we have 21 bridges, 16 of them are town and 5 of them are state. But what happens is the state comes down and inspects all our bridges. They came down this past summer and they inspected our Great Pond Bridge. And I got a nice little packet in the mail saying immediate repairs to that, to the bridge and to the abutments. And underneath, they're getting undermining under the roadway, undermining underneath the abutments. We need to do some slope repairs. And that alone that's going to be a hefty price just for one of the bridges. We have a lot of these roadways in town where eventually they're starting to, Shore Street, Minot Road, Surf Drive are right on that coast, that south coastal area. So I think as time goes on, and we're going to be facing more and more of these roadways. And I think Great Bay Street, it was about a month ago that the Board of Selectmen had a joint meeting with the planning board, and they were talking about putting together a plan for future resiliency of the roadway. And I got up and I mentioned that Great Bay Street's going to be a good candidate to discuss. So, yeah.
Okay.
How does this conflict with our sewerage plan that we have that's going through Mira Vista? How do the two of them, if they're thinking in about another year and a half, they'll be starting? And it seems to me it's all going to be kind of in the same place when we get to Great Bay.
Yeah, it is going to be all in the same bay. I would say as far as the drainage,
yeah.
We can either do it 2 ways. We can put the drainage in, and then when they put the sewer in, let them go around our drainage. They can put the sewer in, because it's deeper, and then we put the drainage in after. But I think most of our drainage structures that we're looking at are not going to be pipe systems. Most of them are going to be just standalone basins on the edges of the road. That will be in the area. That will be in the area that they're working on those side streets. On Great Bay Street alone, I don't believe there's sewerage going down Great Bay Street. I think it's going down the side
I
streets.
think most of the sewing is on the other side of Mara Vista. I'm not sure that there are that many on the.
Well, I think it is going down the side streets.
Some, but I
Yeah.
think the majority of it is, but we'd have to look at the map.
So we'd be doing, I mean, they're surveying that, the design consultants are surveying the whole area down in that area. So we'll be working closely with, we don't want to be doing work and then redoing work a second time. So we'll be working with Jerry Thomas on that, but, yeah.
I think that was the issue, the thing I was thinking about. You're going to have that all prepared, and then here comes the sewage.
Well, the thing you want to be, what we want to look at though is if we go put in drainage basins and you patch the roads, or you do whatever in the roadways, and then the soil comes in and they do the soil, and then they patch the roadways, you're going to overlay it anyways at the end. You don't want to be overlaying it twice, so it'd be good if there would be, the time frame was close enough that they could do the patching, maybe a year or so, and then come right back in through it after and do an overlay over the whole area. By the time they get done with the sewer mains and the services, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of asphalt. So,
Any other questions?
something to work.
Thank you.
Here,
Oh,
beat me
it
to it.
took, okay, great, thanks, Peter.
So,
You told us a lot.
That's it for you, huh?
yeah.
A lot.
Wow.
Hey,
I'm going to
Thank
suggest
you.
we take 3 minutes and just stretch. We've been here since 6 o'clock, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I agree.
Going to take a 3-minute recess. we will come back to order. And our next item is we're going to interview. We have a couple of candidates here. Dan Shearer for the Coastal Pond Management Committee, and there is one vacancy for a term that ends on June 30th, 15. So Dan, maybe you'd like to tell us why you'd like to be on the Coastal Ponds Management Committee, if you would be so kind.
Well, good evening.
Good
That
evening.
was a very nice presentation. I wish we'd been able to ask some questions, because I'm sure a lot of people had them. But for myself, I'm Dan Shearer. I'm in Precinct 6. I live on Old Dock Road in West Falmouth. And when I joined the Waterways Committee, at the first meeting, they asked that they would like to have somebody on that committee, on the Ponds Committee, because they're going to be discussing, and they are discussing, at moorings and changing boat, so forth. And I was on, at two of the mooring committees, many years ago, and I'm a voter, and I have one of the new experimental anti-eelgrass herding at moorings, so they had a lot of questions about that. And I volunteered to interview for this job and be on it. I've gone to the Ponds Committee and talked to them, and they said they would be glad to have me on it. And I'll take any questions that anybody might have.
Questions? Becky, go ahead.
Well, I think
She beat
that,
you.
I think, Dan, that probably most of us sitting here know you and know your qualifications, and I think we were silent when she said, are there any questions? That I think we know you, and we know what you're capable of, and we're very pleased you're standing there and interviewing. So I really don't have a question, I'm just making a statement to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would second that by saying thanks for stepping up, Dan.
Doug, you had a question, or you sounded like
I was
you were-
trying very hard to come up with a question that I didn't already know the answer to about you and the waters. But I guess I would like to commend the idea of having someone both on the Coastal Ponds and the Waterways Committee. Does make a lot of sense to make sure those two committees know what each other are doing. It's something that we've also been looking into, which committees should be combined, or at least be combined membership, and I thought this is a good step in that direction.
And I'm also on the Beach Committee.
Right, I know that too.
And so that sort of puts me into what the three committees that bring a lot of people to this town, which who really are responsible for paying for most of this work that has to be done by the departments here. So, come on, ask me some questions.
Well, I guess it's like Becky
No?
said, we know you so well, and we know your interests, and you've been on committees already, so.
What's your goal for the committee? First thing you'd like to contribute to?
What my goal is, what I want is, if we're changing moorings, I want to be able to do it so the most moorings can be used and are used all the time. I hate to see vacant moorings in any harbor. I hate to see little boats on deep water moorings. I think these new moorings like I have are very, very good. I think my boat is extremely safe on it. But I don't think other boats in the harbor are half as safe because I have this mooring. So I think this has to be a really thought-out proposition. My mooring will stretch up to 16 feet. There's about 3 feet behind me. He's not going to stretch. One of us is going to the bottom. I have a very heavy boat. I don't know how we're going to do this. They're very expensive, they're very hard, and so far, diving on my mooring, as they have been doing, the eelgrass isn't doing any better than it was doing before. So I'm not really sure that this is the way of doing things. And I think we've got to watch this and see what we can do. But I think it's going to take work and study and a lot of cooperation from the mooring holders, which is the other hard part.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
I would move appointment of Dan Shearer to the Coastal Ponds Management Committee, term ending June 30th, 2015.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
The motion carries. Thank you, Dan. And our next applicant is Thomas Pender. And the Design Review Committee has 2 alternate member positions available with terms until June 30th, 2017. So, Mr. Pender, good evening and welcome.
Thank you. My name's Tom Pender, and I've spent 45 years in the construction business. I was worked for the self-employed plumbing contractor for 25 years. I spent 10 years working for the building department in the city of Boston as a plumbing and gas inspector. And I felt I could afford to give some of my time back, and this would kind of enable me to do that.
Questions? Becky?
I would just say concerning Tom and this position that I think it's a really good match for the town. And I think Tom has indicated that he has some extra time, a little bit.
Retired.
And I think the design review is a good place for him, good position.
Doug?
Where were you a resident before? 5 years ago, you moved to Falmouth as a resident. Where did you live before?
Well, we've been a summer resident for 30 years
Yeah.
in Falmouth, and I think for probably the past 5 years, I'm exactly not sure, but we've been permanent residents, and West Roxbury, Boston.
And do you understand the way, the description of being an alternate member, what that entails for the committee?
I think I do, yeah.
Okay.
I guess my question is, what intrigues you about Design Review Committee? I know that we have a design review bylaw, right? And it was written many years ago. I was, I think, on the board before it was written. Design review has come into being, let's say, in the last 20 years. But I guess my question is, what interests you or intrigues you about this committee?
Well, it seems to work with other areas of other committees, and I just was curious about its functioning, and as I say, I've never been on one of the committees before, but I just felt that I could add to it.
Do you have any opinion about the current signage in town, whether you think it's appropriate or it could be improved upon, or in terms of size or color or something?
Yeah, I think anything could probably be improved upon, and I think keeping this as each village independent and within context of the town is pretty critical to the town, because we are largely a tourist industry town, and I'm not sure people want to come in here and see all sorts of garish displays of commercialism all over the place. And so I would probably err on the side of a little more conservative in terms of what I would accept as something that would be a good sign.
Okay. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I would move to appoint Thomas Pender to the Design Review Committee as an alternate, with term ending June 30th, 2017.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you very
Good.
much.
Well, thank you for volunteering. Okay, our next item is to execute the warrant, vote the articles and execute the warrant. Normally, this is pretty de facto kind of a process. This isn't the time when we actually go through each article and discuss it and make recommendations. This is just simply voting to place them on the warrant. And then sometime in, I think, mid-October, thereabouts, we will actually be voting our decision on the articles, whether we recommend them, on how we recommend them, what language we might use, or whether we don't recommend them. And I want to pass these out. These are the final revised copies. There was, I think there was one article that was actually written twice. I don't know if you noticed that. And it was just cleaned up a little bit. And there's no substantial changes to anything. It's just a cleaner copy. So the usual procedure is we go by page. Like the first page would be Article 1 to Article 6. And then page 2 would be Article 7 and 8, you know, the way they are on the page, and then vote them by page, if that's agreeable to everyone.
Do we actually really have any option? I mean, could we vote not to put an article on the warrant if we wanted to?
Yes, except for petition articles. Usually petition articles are anybody who gathers, there's a time frame. It's either 10 signatures, or if it's too close to the closing date, it's 100 signatures. But petition articles, no. But other articles, yes, if you decide that you've gone through it and there's something you don't think should be on it. The other thing would be the ordering of the articles. If they're, right now, there's always been the practice of the board recently to intersperse petition articles along with the other articles. Usually the planning articles come first and the zoning articles follow in that pattern, and then after that, it's pretty much...
Last year, we were taken to task because we ended up having some articles that cost a lot of money come up late at night. And we can never know when an article is going to come up.
Because
it depends on when when it does arise. And people say, well, why did you have that article come up 10:30 at night? And we can't predict what night it's going to come up and at what point.
You notice on here that all the CPC articles come at the end.
Right.
Usually they're not controversial, so this might be a time when there wouldn't be a lot of controversy at the end of the warrant, because people have had an opportunity to read about them, to know what's going on, to read in the paper, to know who the sponsors are of these articles, and you pretty much know what the CPC articles are. So having them at the end probably takes a lot of the question or dissension or any lengthy debate about them.
Because I can't see, if we can't not put the petitions articles on, I can't see us telling another committee who's made the request, oh no, we're not going to put your article on. So I understand we have to do this, but really we're not, I don't see that we have much option but then to approve the articles that have been presented to us.
I agree with him.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. I don't think there's, I thought we were going to do each one of them when I said, so when
that's
you
later.
gave that direction, that's later, then I don't see that there's anything that...
Well, why don't we just, if you're okay with voting them page by page?
Sure, I would move
So
articles
then-
1 through 6.
Well, but is there any reason to go page by page? Why not take the entire set?
Well, I think we started out thinking page
Well,
by
maybe
All right.
as you go through it, as you turn the page, you might find something that you want to say something about.
Okay.
All right, so a motion to approve Articles 1 through 6. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Because we can see them at once, I'm going to move articles 7 through 12.
Okay.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
I'll move articles 13 to 22.
13 to 22,
I was on 9,
we just did 9.
It's just, he included that in the list.
We just did all through 12.
excuse me.
Now we're doing 13
Maybe
to
I wanna
22.
change my vote.
Second.
Doesn't have a page number. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
I would move articles 23 through 29.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
I move Article 30 and 31.
Second?
Discussion?
Actually, I do have discussion on Article 30.
Okay.
And this is just what do we do about petitioners' articles and making sure that they actually can be an article that can be passed? That Article 30, as a petition article, is written, town taking White Pine Lane as a public way and finish repairs to road, paving the rest of the road. That just couldn't be passed and have any meaning.
That's the way it's written.
We'll be hearing from town council on that.
Okay. I mean, sometimes we have other petitioners' articles where they're asking for money, but they haven't gone through the process of saying where the funding is coming from. And how that we can, as opposed to just having the article defeated because it's worded badly, that we can have a meaningful discussion about that article. And
So we would probably suggest that Ms. Favreau, or maybe the town contact her and let her know that her article is not worded in a proper manner for town meeting.
someone can make a positive motion on the floor to make sure the motion actually is votable.
We cannot change what's submitted by the petitioner, but what you can do is talk with town council about what recommendation you may make to allow that to proceed.
Okay.
If you so desire.
Right, but that would be if we as a board were in support of the article. I'm just trying to come up with to make sure that the petitioners actually get a chance to have their question debated, not just having it not voted on because it didn't fit
But that's kind of the responsibility of the petitioner. If you had an issue and you wanted town meeting to adopt it, I would think that you would make sure that what you had was written appropriately and properly.
You know, as someone who's been to town meeting for many, many years, I'm not sure I would still know exactly how to do it and how to go about that process. So I can understand some of our residents not knowing, you know, the right process, but I guess it's up to them to figure that out.
I do want to note, if they care to inquire in advance, we certainly would have a discussion with them, but that has not been the case in regard to this article. I'm not suggesting that our input would transform it necessarily, but we've not been given that opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, you have to ask sometimes for help. I mean, if you come in and just say, here it is, and you don't say, well, I want to make sure that this is correct, could I ask somebody to review it or something? The person has to take some responsibility as well, I would think. I know what you're saying.
And that's the Article 30, is I understand it's a petitioner's article, but there's nothing to really vote on for the town meeting with the way that's worded.
That's true.
The vote is on the motion, I'm sorry.
But there's no motion.
But the motion
But we
doesn't come until you
will
make
make
your
the-
recommendation and explanation. So
But
you'd
we
come
get to our
back.
part.
But we can't make the motion on a petitioner's article. We can make a recommendation.
That's right.
But you can make a recommendation, which is the main motion, which is, so your recommendation would be
Becomes the motion.
Okay.
to recommend
I mean,
as follows.
Well, the recommendation would have to be indefinite postponement.
I don't think so.
Well, town council is going to speak
Yeah.
on this, so we'll have an opportunity to
Okay.
see if it
I
can be
move
worked
Article
with.
30 and 31.
Oh, excuse me. I want to speak about 31.
Go ahead.
I don't understand if this would be accepted by the town of Falmouth, where the replacement of what you're going to use and who's going to pay for that. If you don't use plastic bags, and you think how many times you have one in your hand each day wherever you go, and now I don't see the money part of how you're replacing what people are going to use, because the town has deemed you will be fined if you use the plastic bag. So there's a money issue here.
Well, that will come with our recommendation. When we get to
All
the
right.
point of
Okay.
looking at this and whether or not we recommend it, it's still a petition article.
Okay.
So the petitioner has the right to that. But then we can decide whether we want to support it or not support it.
Okay, that's fine.
And we do that when we make our recommendations.
Okay.
That has no, I mean, it still goes to town meeting. Town meeting can, I mean, the author of the article can actually make a motion to vote it as printed and bypass the recommendation. You can do that. I mean, the recommendation doesn't always carry the full weight of the vote. It's just that this is what the selectmen have to say about it. And then, and that would be also stated at town meeting. But normally, if it's a petition article, the petitioner usually moves that the article be voted as printed. And then the selectmen make theirs, and then town meeting debates it. That's usually how it goes. So those points can be made when we make the recommendation.
That's fine.
So now we need a vote for 30 and 31. All those in favor?
Just one more clarification. If this is a negative on 31, if we do not want this?
No, it's a
we can't-
petition article.
okay.
We
Okay,
can't
we
not
can't do
vote
that.
it. We
Okay.
can't not
All
vote
right.
it. Did you want to make a comment? Please go to the microphone and state your name for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Don Mallinson, and I'm the petitioner for the plastic bags ban.
Okay.
And I'm under the impression that at some time or another, when the board goes to consider these things, that the petitioner has the opportunity to present.
Yes, that's correct. Every
Now, does that
petitioner.
happen now, or does that happen some other
No.
time?
At the night that we recommend, we will have the petitioners here to make presentations on their articles.
Oh, okay.
So you will be given that opportunity.
Okay, I just wasn't sure of the timing, and that's why I
Right.
was asking. Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Do we have the vote?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, unanimous.
I move Articles 32 through 37.
Madam Chair, pardon me, Selectman, Article 34, we had a request, I believe from the CPC, to delete the words "and maintain" from the second line. That's Article 34. So it just would read to preserve the Falmouth Village Green, and deleting the
Oh.
words "and
I
maintain."
wondered why that was in there when I read it, because I thought,
They can't
is the
maintain.
CPC planning on maintaining it?
No.
Okay. So that it would come without those words.
Does it also need to have, so we're preserving the Falmouth Village Green?
To preserve it, by replacing the deteriorating portions of the fence. That's the preservation, is to replace the fence, or portions of the fence.
Okay. I mean, I guess it's their article, I just don't
Yeah.
understand how that's preserving the green.
Preserving, well,
They're presuming the fence is an integral part of
Part
the
of the
green,
green.
I guess. Selectman Jones, good point. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I would preserve the Falmouth Village Green fence by replacing deteriorating portions of the fence, but anyway, that's their article.
right.
I move Articles 32 to 37,
Do you want to add the correction?
with the correction that Mr. Sissa suggested, removing "and maintain."
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, unanimous. Last page.
Move Articles 38 to 42.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, unanimous. And now we need a separate vote to execute the warrant. So the motion would be to execute the warrant.
I move that we execute the warrant.
With the change.
With the change.
Oh, with the change too.
With the change to Article 34.
34. I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, unanimous.
Thank you.
Yep. And now we are being requested to provide, I believe, 2 selectmen
Yes.
to the local initiative project. Heather, maybe you want to just give a brief description, if you want, of the LIP, although I suppose if everybody read it, you probably understand what the LIP process is.
I can give you a brief outline. The local initiative program is a particular area of the comprehensive permit, and local initiative projects are projects whereby the town partners with the developer to effectuate the development plan of the developer consistent with the town's goals and policies. What we've done is establish a committee that meets with the proponent, whether it's a private, nonprofit, or for-profit developer, to determine whether that committee recommends that the project move forward as a local initiative project, because that comes with a tremendous amount of benefits as well as some deviation from the permitting process in addition to the comprehensive permit. So there's a lot of value to the local initiative program. There's also a lot of additional responsibility and cost to the town as a result of entering into those projects. So we do a preliminary review process, and we have Board of Selectmen representation on that, along with the planning board and the planning staff and the Affordable Housing Committee.
So this is not a subcommittee that meets regularly?
No.
It only meets when there is a LIP project? And I'd be happy to volunteer to be a member. Anybody else?
I'll be
Oh, do
happy
we
to
have
be-
two then?
That's all right. I defer.
Huh?
No problem.
No, I'm happy. If two of you want to do it, I won't do it. I've done a LIP before. You want to?
Sure.
Okay. Sam and Susan?
Sure.
So a motion to,
I move appointment of Sam Patterson and Susan Moran to the LIP, Local Initiative
Second.
Program.
second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Excellent.
Thank you.
Yes. And next we have an annual committee appointment. This is the Inspector of Animals. His name is Alec Turner, and the term runs through April 30th, 2015.
I move appointment of Alec Turner to the Inspector of Animals. I guess the term ending
This is kind
April
of-
30th, 2015, which is
Next year.
8 months from now. Which is 8 months from now.
Right. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. And then, I put this on here tonight. This is the committee handbook. And we're going to be meeting with the committee chairs in October. We've set up a meeting for that. We met with them once before, Sam and Susan, before you were elected. We had a meeting with the committee chairs. It was the first time. And it was really a good meeting. And I think the committee chairs were really very pleased to have that opportunity to meet with us. We met at the library. And I thought it was a very good meeting. So I thought I think Brett was chairman then, and I think he had suggested that we would want to have a follow-up meeting, and that's what this is, the follow-up meeting. So before putting some of the agenda together, I thought maybe you all might have some ideas or thoughts about what you would like to see included. Because some of you now have had an opportunity to visit your liaison committees and have some idea of how they're functioning, and maybe you might have some thoughts. You could submit them in writing to Diane, and we could do it, or you could talk about them tonight, whatever is your pleasure. I just wanted to bring it up so that we can all engage in the agenda for this meeting.
Well, I think one of the things that Doug and I spoke about in the subcommittee was really to consult the chairs about the work the committee is doing, how they, if they feel that the work is ongoing, any work that still needs to be done, or, in some cases, are they winding down? Would they like to work with other committees or consolidate efforts? So I think the committee chairs probably have some ideas on, and probably would welcome, I know that the ones that I'm liaison for would welcome some ideas on how to really be, efficient in terms of the volunteers' times, and also to affect the recommendations and the work that the committee is doing.
In addition, we may well give them some direction on how to attract more membership. There's so many of our committees that still have vacancies, that to have a either brainstorming session or at least meeting with the committee chairs. And one of the options may be if two committees are both missing members, but they overlap a lot of their duties, as to whether that can be consolidated, or whether committees would serve better to be given very specific tasks by us, by giving a charge saying, okay, we would like your committee either as an ad hoc committee or to assign them jobs to, within a year, give us a recommendation on a very specific job of something that we want them to find out about.
Those are good topics. The other thing I thought might be helpful if we came up with a sort of a pro forma, an application, if we took a look at the applications and between now and then and see if we could make maybe some changes that might improve them. I mean, what information is really not necessary? What do we want them to expand on? Do we really want everyone who applies to provide a resume? Some do, some don't. Sometimes you don't get very much information at all on an application. And the other pro forma thing would be the basic responsibilities of the chair. And that would be to make sure that the minutes are done and that the minutes are filed with the clerk and they're put on the committee's website. Kind of standard things that each chair should be responsible for. Those are the mechanical things.
I think there's something about being on any committee in the town. I think they would like for us to know what they're doing. And I think that they should give a report about we know each one, we hear when we go to whatever our meetings may be. But I think it's important for them to tell us that it isn't forgotten or it isn't thought about or it isn't important. I think that should be somewhere on the agenda. Just tell us so that we hear you.
There was a time when we used to have the reports, an annual report from the regulatory committees, like the planning board, the Concom, the ZBA, obviously the quarterly reports from the DPW. They were quarterly, some were annual. Quarterly reports from the police chief. That was important. An annual report from the Cape Cod Commission member. And then the others were submitted in writing. So each committee would give an annual report each year in writing to the town manager's office for the selectmen to review. I don't know that that's been followed up on very much. And it wouldn't. I mean, it would highlight the activities of the committee for the year. I mean, it wouldn't have to be pages long. And I know that not all of them do. All of them don't have to write a report for the annual report, do they? Or no? Certain ones, maybe, or it's mostly town departments that do.
But key ones regularly respond, but not all.
But not all. So we might think about that. Because I do think we should have opportunities for really at least the regulatory, if not other committees, but also town departments to give us reports like we had tonight. I find them very valuable, and I hope you would too. I think knowing what's going on in the town is really important.
Oh, and it's important to publicize,
For
because then
the
you do.
citizens to know, not just for us, it's
Exactly.
really for the purpose of the people at home.
Right, and they could give ideas, maybe get interested in a committee, look at something from a different perspective.
It's like a recruitment effort in a way, to have committees come in. I mean, you can't have everyone come in because there's too many, but some could, and it's a way to generate enthusiasm for the work they do.
Exactly.
I think that's important, and I think we should maybe just give them a 5-minute time slot at Board of Selectmen's meeting. We can spread it out over a year's time and ask for that status report, ask for the ongoing issues, ask for the ongoing products that they're working on, be it some kind of a report or whatever. But I think that's important, and it gives them a voice.
And, well, we've often thought, we meet every other week, that's true, but we could take, if we couldn't fit it into the regular meeting, maybe take one night out of the month for committee reports. I mean, that's a possibility. Not have it like a marathon, but actually, and it might be useful if other committee chairs were here to give their reports. They could hear the reports from other committees. That might be something to think about, that we could talk to them about. I mean, it's another night for us in a way, but it depends on how much we can fit into a
One
regular
night.
agenda.
Be fun.
Well, those are some good ideas.
So do you have some dates in mind that you'd like for us to think about, or a day of the week?
Do we have a date? yet?
Monday, October 27th is
Yeah.
an off Monday for the board.
It's
If-
an off
If that
Monday.
would be agreeable to,
October,
the
October is for the meeting with the chairs.
yes, October 27th?
That's
Yep, and that would
tentative.
probably be at the library.
yes.
It's a
Unless the
little,
board would prefer otherwise.
well, it's a little too much here. I mean, at the library,
No,
at
the
least,
library's good.
you're closer together. Like here, it's more,
Okay.
what do I want to say?
It's more flexible.
That's an
Yeah.
off Monday. Would
Structure
you
it.
want
It's
to
an
That
off
sounds
confirm
Monday.
that, Madam Chair? Yeah, the board.
Can we confirm it?
It is a Monday, but you do not have a regular meeting that night. You have one on the 6th and one on the 20th. So if the 27th is agreeable, you could vote that tonight if that would be
We
your...
could.
Sounds
That
great.
would be your desire.
27th sounds good.
Yes.
Need a motion there, Mr. Jones?
I'll make it a motion. That we meet October 27th for a meeting with the committee
Meeting
chairs,
with committee chairs. Okay.
finding as many as possible.
Second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's good. I already have it on my
We'll
calendar.
aim for the library on that night.
Yeah. I
Very
think
good.
the library is a little better. Maybe we could do something different with the seating. You know, we don't have to sit like this at a meeting with the chairs. And maybe we might
Agree.
want to do some with tables. You know, we've
Yep.
had tables before where people sit around the tables.
The way we did finance and school committee, maybe like that, a
Yeah.
big square so everyone
Yeah.
could interact.
Yeah. Okay, so what do I do with my agenda?
I would
All right,
think there
so-
might be a time we could have like-minded committees meet that evening together also. So if you have the committee chair from the Ponds, Waterway, and Beach Committee, you know, maybe they
Yeah, kind of
could
have
have a
them set up
table
at
at a different part of the
table,
meeting
yeah.
where they could
Yeah,
share ideas.
that's a good idea. Table setups. Okay, individual selectments reports.
All right.
Becky?
Let's see, the beach committee, I think that we did hear from Don this evening, but I'm continuously impressed with how many responsibilities that beach committee has, and they really do a good job. When I have heard complaints from people about maybe they don't like the looks of what's on the beach, or someone hasn't cleaned it up, once you sit through one of these meetings, you find out how intense and serious they are about taking care of the beach. And if there's an instance that maybe someone doesn't like the look of paper or whatever one, there's a reason. I mean, it is continuously clean. And maybe if it missed for an hour and someone's complaining, but I am very impressed with the amount of work that goes into what the beach committee members themselves are doing to, and so now everything is being taken away, and of course, that's the next conversation, is that, you know, the things have been removed, and I think those new showers are fantastic out there. So, so that was, I'm just impressed with their work. The design review didn't have too much to talk about, and so they didn't have too much to talk about. And then the zoning board has a lot to talk about, and I think we read most of that in the paper. I don't think it needs to be rehashed again, so.
Anybody else?
Yes?
Yeah,
well,
Sam?
I've been to several meetings. I guess the first one chronologically was the Community Preservation Committee, and you saw the array of articles that they have put together, and perhaps some questions as well. But a lot of effort done on their part. I also attended the school committee meeting on the 16th, and one of the things that I can report on is that the MSBA has indicated that they, the proposal to upgrade the Lawrence windows was at least acknowledged as being complete. And then today I received an email actually recommending the consultant and I guess the civil engineer that's going to be part of that project, and that's part of the prescription that the Massachusetts School Building Assistance Program actually has in place for what they call accelerated repair programs. All right, so that it seems to be moving along well, and I'm pleased to see that because it could represent a 38% subsidy from the state for those repair and replacement of the Lawrence windows, which are actually dangerous. I've seen them myself, and something does need to happen to replace them. Let's see, I also attended a Conservation Committee meeting, and I wanted to mention that this Wednesday is when they're going to have the Little Pond Sewer Project Review hearing. That conflicts with this Department of Transportation hearing for that 151-28A intersection. So I guess you can take your choice as to which one you go on, but I did want to mention that. The second thing you probably received in your mail slots, the memorandum of understanding for the Mashpee National Wildlife Refuge.
Oh, yes.
All right. That was actually presented at this Conservation Committee meeting. I might want to point out to you that, because immediately one of the questions came up, is this an obligation that Falmouth has to do something for that reserve? And the answer is no, that this is really just a joint vision of what the objectives are and how we could work together. For those of you that are not familiar with it, this is 6,144 acres. It's really a clustering of conservation areas, and there's even some private properties, all of which are oriented towards some sort of conservation effort. And they've all been aggregated together and jointly met, and our own Mark Kasperzek, one of our conservation administrators, was instrumental in pulling this memorandum of understanding together as a kind of a joint vision to help everybody coordinate their efforts and work together. But there's no commitment per se that might require some kind of monetary contribution from the town. The last thing this past Thursday, I attended the regional meeting of the Massachusetts Selectmen's Association. It was held at the Massachusetts Municipal Association's offices in Boston. Received briefings from John Robertson, who's the MMA's legislative director, and also from Michael Widmer, who's the president of the Massachusetts Taxpayer Foundation. Very experienced people who have been trying to help guide the legislature to make the right kind of investments and pass the right kind of bills to facilitate all of the municipal efforts to provide services to citizens. I know we're always concerned about the lack of local monies coming back to us from what we all pay as taxpayers to the state through various taxes. And so these two organizations are basically trying to work toward getting more local aid back to the towns where we can decide how best to invest this money. They gave overviews on legislation from last year and some things to look forward to this year. I think my take home from this was basically we need to be working more with our legislative team, making them aware of the things that are important that we want them to be advocating at the state level. Something else you got in your mail slots is recommendations from the Massachusetts Municipal Association. It says 10 partnership policies to build a stronger Commonwealth. And I would recommend that you take the time to actually look through these, and maybe we should be looking for the opportunity to get our state reps and state senator in here maybe after the election, and they get their feet on the ground and begin to talk about some of these initiatives, because it does affect us down here. And I guess one of the standout things that was mentioned by both of these gentlemen was that the projections for increased state revenues are modest over the next 5 years, that they don't see the economic recovery as being very vital, as we've seen in economic recoveries in past downturns over the last 20 years. They really think that they expect state revenues to only increase by 2 to 3% per year, and we shouldn't have a very rosy outlook about how much additional local aid we might be getting, be it for Chapter 90 for road repairs, or for Chapter 70 for our educational programs, or from any of the other sources. So that was kind of the message, that we needed to be thinking conservatively in terms of what we can expect in local aid contributions to the municipalities, including Falmouth, of course. That's it.
Good, great. Can you beat that?
Skip me.
I'll just briefly report that I did attend the library trustees meeting up at North Falmouth Library. And it's a gorgeous library right now. They have some wonderful plans, and they also seem to be making some progress in resolving some of the foundation issues that the library trustees had. I was at the planning board meeting last week and apologize to them that I will not be able to make tomorrow night's meeting. We have our back-to-school night, and then this past Saturday attended the Bocce Festival supporting the Samaritans, and that Bocce Festival was won by our representative David Vieira and his team.
Really?
So got a chance to see him there also, supporting that.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Just as a reminder, we do have a joint meeting with the planning board tomorrow night.
Right.
Just,
Yep.
right here at 7 o'clock.
And that's a very interesting report that they've done on the
On
affordable housing
It
needs.
is.
And
I'm at like 3/4 of the way through. It's really a tough read.
But it really gives some amazing statistics on the demographics
Mhm.
currently and the changes that have been taking place. I was pretty impressed with the study.
Yeah. Town managers report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No further information to report.
Really?
Beyond what
Wow.
we've covered already. Thank you.
Okay. Then motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Great.